today we're going to sit down for about 2 hours and talk to a gentleman who goes by the name of Holy Prince Apollo on TikTok, also known as the Thirstmeister. If you got it, flaunt it, baby, okay? This is, as you can see, his page. Well, where'd it go? Over here. Awesome guy, really is. And he also speaks about thirst trapping in the video, so that wasn't me implying anything that he didn't already say. But you know, when you got it, you flaunt it, okay? I look like the fucking abominable snowman from the Bugs Bunny cartoon, so I'm not thirst trapping nothing. I'm catfishing all day. But let's get into it. 2.5 hours, pretty solid fucking discussion. Hope you guys enjoy it. If anyone ever wants to jump in, if you think you've got something to offer, I would like to speak to people who would like to talk more about how to carry yourself with the knowing, not so much of how to get to the knowing, or how does everything work and all that other. I don't think that it really does as much for anybody. I don't think the value is really there to wake people up and then be like, good luck out there, motherfucker. So I would like to talk to people who are actively like healing themselves and learning to live with a little more freedom from the ego. And a lot of people will tell you like, I killed my whole ego, bro, I'm the shit. And it's like, okay, listen, I don't know how to explain to you what you just said, but nuh-uh, dude, no you didn't. Like, I'm fucking basically God, dog. And I killed my ego. I slayed my ego on Mount Olympus. It's like, all right, listen, you go that way, I'll go this way, and then we'll meet back here never. Okay? Have fun, dude. But I was that person, I'm sure. I think a lot of people go through that. So I think by talking to people about that part, about the ego consuming you early on, the ego early on thinking that it's God, and then what to do from there, I think that is the most valuable content that can be made right now. So that's where I'm trying to put a lot of my focus. The next episode of the podcast, one of the next episodes, real soon, I would imagine, I'm bringing on a guy to talk about breast work. I'm squish them titties, boys. We're going to squish you some titties. Breath work. Sorry, ladies. I shouldn't have said boys and then made a general gross joke with ladies watching. But I'm going to have someone on about breath work, because the one thing that I really am interested in recently is how to regulate my nervous system. Because I can try with my mind and it just isn't enough. It's not enough. I'm so heady about everything. Everything is so mental for me because that was how I was given the knowing, that I need to be grounded. So I want to focus on that, because I think a lot of people need that. So we'll have someone coming on talking about breath work. I'm going to try to find people in the realm of holistic healing, and we're just going to go that way. You know, like, you can go to my TikTok and see all the content about what reality is. You can go and watch my evolution, because I didn't start with the same knowing that I have today. You should always be evolving. Once you think you know, you'll never know. You put yourself in a box with the idea of knowing the truth. The ultimate truth, from what I can conclude, can't be named. Like, literally, you can't name it. Anything that is named is separate, must be separate. So you can't define the ultimate knowing, but we all kind of talk about, well, here's what we kind of think about it, and here's how we deal with it. And I just hope to bring some peace to some people, because honestly, the idea of being like famous to do that, I don't know about that. I would eventually like to look into some kind of small, like a retreat thing, in a sense, just kind of a gathering of people to get a better understanding. But I'm not even there. I'm not to the point of a teacher. So this is what I'm doing. I'm asking people the questions and talking to the people that I think I need to talk to get to a place to help other people. You're just coming along for the journey. So thank you for being here. I hope you find some value in this conversation we're about to have. And if you want to come on and talk, shoot me a message. Love to have you. Thanks, everybody. Love you guys.
I like your setup in the background there.
Thanks, man. My little
Shows
headset.
you're a true psychonaut over there.
Hey, that's fucking the only way I found anything ever.
That's how my journey started to begin with, honestly. It was LSD.
Yeah, that mine was LSD, and then I was so afraid of it, I ran away from it for like 10 years. and then the psilocybin like threw in some foreplay and tempted me back. But
Oh,
LSD would just fuck you on the floor, dude. It'll grab you and do it to you. And I just was not prepared at all. I didn't know anybody in that world. I like just found it
yeah.
and went to my buddies I did coke with and was like, "You guys want to try something else?" And dude, fuck,
Completely different
yeah,
experience.
yeah, not even remotely the same at all.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it was rough, man. And it was okay though for fucking 10 years. I didn't look at it, and honestly, it's been okay all the way up until like the last maybe 2 years. I got super deep into it to that part where you're like, you get the speed wobbles. You're like,
So you've
oh
been
fuck.
doing it consistently again?
No, 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 no. I mean, as far as just like the participation in even this realm of existence. You know what I mean? Like just the knowing that comes from it, and then living with it. You go and you're
Yeah.
like, dude, this shit's dope, and then you hear, "You're God," and you're like, what? Who said that? And you find out it's you, and you're like, oh fuck, dude, what do I do with this?
I mean, I remember one of the first time I ever heard those voices. Some people call them the DMT elves, the builders of our universe, like the first ever pixels that actually had the intelligence to use light and bend things. I had taken a really high dose of LSD when I was on a spring break with my girlfriend and a bunch of buddies. And my one friend, he was the one who introduced me to acid. He was a military guy, and he was a part of the Air Force base at Pensacola. And he came to me and he was like, and we had been best friends in high school. We would party and drink together and do all sorts of stupid shit. But one day he comes to me, he's just like, our whole life, it's a lie. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he was just like, if I told you, you wouldn't believe me. So I need you to take this substance. And I was like, what's that? And he's like, LSD. And I was just like, I took a health class and a dare class, and I know for a fact that that's a hallucinogen. And he's just like, well, have you ever thought about what is hallucinating, Matt? And I was like, no. He's like, different states and realms of consciousness. He's like, we have a lot of layers we have to peel back with you. He's just like, but if you're willing to go on that trip, he's like, just know there's no coming back. And I was just like, let's send it.
Yeah, dude, full send, all gas, no brakes. Mine hit me. Mine hit me that night on LSD. I did 5 tabs that night.
All
At
right.
least that's what I could count. So we got those little spree or those little candies. They're like sweeties or whatever. They're like little flat discs with like an indent on both sides. They're like chalky bullshit candy. Um,
Yeah.
so he just put a drop on each side, but I didn't know each side. I thought it was just like
Oh,
one.
so you double dosed it.
So I ate 2 of those, thinking I was getting 2 doses, and then I found a blotter in the freezer, and I was gonna eat that too. But I also didn't account for the fact that this dude's dosing a fucking bowl. The candy is a bowl. You're getting more than one hit, maybe a hit and a half, whatever it was. So I got to at least 5, and then everyone was my alter ego trying to. I was Truman, and everyone else was just a part of my consciousness trying to keep me here. And I was like, I felt like fucking Rick at Shoney's in Rick and Morty. I was like,
Yeah.
this is a simulation. I can fucking tell. It's obvious now. It's so fascinating when you go to that place how obvious everything is. You just look at it and you go, well, this is common sense. How did I miss this my whole life? Um,
It's because it wanted you to until a very specific moment, a very
dude,
specific time. It was like, all right, now we're going to play peekaboo.
yeah.
And
What's fascinating is my big comeback to it was at 33. And I feel like I hear that a lot from a lot of people. They're like, yeah, I was like 33. And I was like, oh, fucking stupid. The number 33 pops up in reality, right? So it means something to somebody. But
in spirituality, the 33 represents the full Jacob's ladder.
you'd have to explain almost anything you say to me because I don't, dude, I have no idea. I'm like, if I didn't see it on Shrooms, I probably don't know about it. What is the Jacob's Ladder?
So Jacob's ladder is the fact that you have 33 spinal fusion
Yeah.
cords. So basically, you know everything is within you, projecting outward now. So the body is the temple that literally it's as above, so below. So the tree of life is your entire nervous system. All of those branches, if you look at somebody, I don't know if you ever went to like a museum where they just show the bodies that are cut
No,
open
I know
and
what you're
it's
talking about though.
Yeah, if you look at them, it's really crazy to look at someone's entire nervous system, but it literally looks like a tree, a
Yep.
upside down tree. And the root of all of it is attached to the brain, which is the head, which is heaven, and then your heel, which is hell. And so basically, the lower your vibration to the bottom of your body, that is hell, which is the seven chakras, right? We're talking about if you're in root, the root chakra, you're in survival state. You're constantly in this fight or flight or freeze, which is a trinity, which is really fun to kind of poke at itself and be like, the magical number here is three, and you're in fight, flight, or freeze. And you're constantly thinking that you're this human being that has to constantly, do everything in its will to live because your body feels like that at first. It really feels like it's fully submerged and lost in the game. But once you have your needs met, you then go up the next rung in the ladder, which is your sacral, it's the sacrum of the spine, which is the three spinal cords fused together. This is where your sexual energy center is. And basically, you can easily understand this in dummy terms is once you have your needs met, now you have wants. As soon as we take care of those psychological needs of food, water, shelter, all of that stuff, right? Your temperature's regulated, you got homeostasis on lock. You're like, I want something now. I want to go for the things that I don't necessarily need, but I want. And that is your second density of consciousness called the not the solar plexus. That's the third one. The sacrum is known as pleasure. Pleasure is all about wants. It's all about the fact that now you have these hormones that are naturally just pushing you. So this is your subconscious. Just like how your subconscious level can go back into fight or flight at any given time when it feels threatened, it's the same thing with the sacrum chakra. It's constantly like, oh, I'm horny. And I think you should go do this and that, and you're constantly kind of like pulled by this energy of your subconscious where you're just like, all right, I guess I'm going to go do this and that, and then all of a sudden you start experiencing more things that help you grow. It's those hormones that drive us when we're not that conscientious at first. It's that pusher, that driver that says go do a whole bunch of stupid shit. Let's see what ends up happening, but you'll grow from it, you'll learn from it, you'll start to get your identity down because your hormones are driving you. So that's the second density of consciousness. Then you level up into the third, which is in the stomach area, known as the solar
Yeah,
plexus.
mine's huge. I got a huge
Yeah,
solar
yeah.
plexus. This ain't fat. This is my solar plexus. Okay, it's full.
And it's all about power. That one is the center. That's known as the ego because once you've activated the solar plexus, you have the ego of identity. And this identity of yours wants power. Everyone wants a different kind of power. Everyone is on their own different, journey of seeking whatever they desire. But you have these desires where now that you have your needs met and you have mostly what you want, you're going to go ahead and put off instant gratification and make sacrifices in order to make strategic moves in order to get what you want or to get what you want from others. So these are also known as like master manipulators, which are the ones that don't have good intentions. This is like our politicians. This is all of the people that they have leveled up 3 levels and they're stuck. The heart is the fourth, which is love. They don't know real love. What they know is that they have to use people to survive, which is their first instinct, and then to also get what they want. So, what they care about is their needs and wants, and really nothing else other than empowering themselves. So, that's the type of people when, if you question them, if you make them feel foolish in their beliefs, they will hate you. They will literally turn on you in a second. They will go from being very nice and happy to just they're the backstabbers of the world. This is where people get the whole entire thing of Satan from. And most people don't even know where that word Satan actually comes from. Do you know where the word Satan actually comes from?
Oh gosh, I've heard it once. No.
It comes from the Hebrew word Hasatan. And the Hebrew word Hasatan means the adversary. So the adversary means to go against, that you have opposition, you have enemies, the ops, right? You go ahead and draw a line in the sand where the solar plexus is that chakra of consciousness that says, if you're not with me, you're against me and you're a threat. And I have to eliminate threats because my identity literally hangs in the balance of things working out the way that I want it. And if it doesn't, you jeopardize my whole entire image of myself, which you're going to get into that realm if you keep becoming more popular in this spiritual community. When you threaten someone's identity, even if they're at, like, for instance, we had that one live stream together, right? And that guy named Tallow, when I went ahead and called him out by telling him that he was a third eye Nana yogi that is stuck, immediately he went from this all, oh, I'm super loving, I'm going to be the one who brings love and God to the world and all of this, instantly turned into, oh no, if you guys can't agree with me, you're absolute fools and this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Because in that moment, if the ego is challenged and it's not of the higher density of consciousness that radiates with love, it doesn't want to understand things. It really doesn't. If you can't word it in the way that it wants to hear it and know it, it's totally shutting you out. And in fact, there's a voice running in their head that if you're there looking in their eyes, you could see it too, that you're like, you're not actually listening to me.
Yeah.
You don't really care what I have to say. And so this is the interesting thing about the 33. The 3 is the solar plexus, is the third chakra, and then the third eye is the sixth chakra. And so these two threes, if they link up and they don't have the balance of the crown, you get what's called in spirituality as the superego, which then causes someone to become Luciferian. And a Luciferian soul is a soul that believes that they are God and they must bend Maya, this what you call the illusion, the simulation, right? The matrix, that they must bend it to their will and make it work in the way that they believe it should be from their projection. But here's the thing about Luciferians is they face the story of Lucifer, because all of these stories from the Bible and everything, they're metaphysical parables, they're allegorical themes. They're not meant to be taken literally. Like I don't know if you ever saw my one TikTok video I made for you where I tagged you when you were talking to me about Jesus walking on water. I tried to tell you that Jesus never walked on water. That's just an allegorical theme. That's a theme about you walking over your emotions and thoughts and not identifying as them. Because if you identify as them, you're swimming in them, and it's only a matter of time that you tire out and you drown in them and you crash the fuck out. You can't do that. That's what happens to people that are in the third center, is they're constantly stuck swimming in their thoughts and emotions. But it gets 10 times worse, and I know you know this. When you go up higher in vibration, you feel things so much more, right?
Yeah.
The feelings, it's like a bad trip is absolute hell on earth,
It's
right?
a nightmare. Yeah.
It's the pure nightmare fuel that actually, when you come off of that bad trip and you come back down here, when negative things happen down here, you're kind of like, all right, that's not so bad. That's not really bad at all. I know what bad is. And it was when I was in that bad trip. It's the same thing for someone with their third eye. They're vibrating really high and things feel threatening to them because it hurts them so much more because they feel so much more. And so, therefore, they believe that they have to bend the world into their image. So, the story of Lucifer is actually that story, is that Lucifer knew he was an angel. Just like those who wake up realize we're made out of light, and that's what angels are, right? Light beings. So, one who truly awakens knows that you're not a human being that's having a spiritual experience. You're a spirit that's having a human being experience, right?
Mhm.
Well, this is Lucifer. Lucifer never believed he was a human. He was an angel. He was a light being, and he knew God. He knew what Gnostics call as the monad, Hindus call as Krishna. It's that one divine source that never forgets itself. It's the part of us that is the supreme. This part is where all light fractals come from, and it's what all light fractals actually obey because we're all tied to a string, and it's like a puppeteer pulling the strings of all of us. But Lucifer is one with the third eye open at all times who can see this spirit, communicate with this spirit, but wanted to betray this spirit because it went ahead and looked at Maya, it looked at reality, the Matrix, right? And it said, this shit sucks. And you know from your own experiences throughout life that it's easy to come up with that conclusion,
Oh, for
right?
sure.
You could be going through something in life and be like, why the hell can't we make this a bit nicer? Why couldn't we go ahead and solve genocide and rape and freaking world hunger and all of this crap that really sucks? All the diseases, all these problems. Why can't we just heal that? Lucifer paved hell with good intentions. His intentions were good. He went ahead and said, if I challenge God, and I won't do it alone, I'll get other angels, other beings around me, kind of like how you're now doing. You're building a whole spiritual community that could eventually turn into a cult. Not saying that you're going to do that, but I'm saying
I
that I did.
Yeah,
I
I
actually
know
did do
exactly.
that.
I know what you're saying because some people are very cult-ish, and it's tough, dude. It's so tough to be in the space. You catch one motherfucker with dreads talking about twin flames, you gotta get the fuck out of there. You gotta go. You gotta go, dude. Yeah, yeah. No, I get that, man. I have a hard time with. I see a lot of that, and I'm like, thankfully, a lot of the people who feel that way eventually fall like
The fall
pretty
of
early. Like
Lucifer.
people, yeah, people get to a point where they're like, dude, your fucking ego, bro, is getting you. And
You
I'm very aware of my ego because I genuinely want to. I want to learn. I want to be more about a community. I have no fucking interest in being any kind of anything. I share my thoughts, but like beyond that, fuck all of that noise, dude. Yeah, I want to
you know,
help, and but I definitely feel the tug of the ego in more um, in ways that aren't so detrimental to other people, but kind of just not very caring either. So,
yeah.
but yeah, I get what you're saying as far as it could turn into a cult. Yeah, no fucking thank you.
Because
Yeah,
I caught on to some of your words and stuff, and it reminded me of myself when you were saying stuff like, what if I actually am God and all of you are just my imagination?
yeah.
And I'm over here just like, if you take that step,
Oh, dude, that's
know
dangerous.
that the actual God, the
Mm-hmm.
one that is our higher self, it's
Yeah,
still our self, will check you in a
yeah.
way that
You won't like
will
it.
blow your mind because it will literally cause you to fall into hell itself, not because it hates you, but only because it wants to teach you a lesson. And that's exactly what it did to me when I built my own spiritual community and I had like 55,000 followers. I blew up off of this one video where I basically hopped on after reading The Law of One. I had a more profound experience than any time I ever took psychedelics, and I've taken a shit ton. Like I
Yeah.
took at one point, I took 800 uh, micrograms of LSD, combined it with moon rocks, and then ate half a sheet of medicinal wax edibles
Oh my
off of a
god.
tray
Yeah,
from the dark web.
dude. I'm like, you could have
I
died.
in that moment I actually thought I was gonna die because I was in the middle of my apartment and I had this huge after party because I had a record label at the time where I had a bunch of signed music artists and we did this event. I'm from Atlanta, by the way, so Atlanta, Georgia.
Gotcha.
And so we were in Atlanta that night and I hosted this big event and it went super well, except for the fact that I would actually get rid of my business that very night and pursue spirituality full on after this, because truth be told, my artists robbed me. They pocketed all the money that was made by the show from the venue director. The money went to him first, and then instead of it coming to me, he handed it to the artists, and then they pocketed it all behind my back. And it was like a really big moment because I had like $30,000 invested into these guys. And that was our first big show. And they literally kept all the money and spent it and literally would not share any of it with me. But regardless, that ended up being the most profound night of my life with shifting everything, because I was the type of person beforehand that would go to frat parties promoting my record label of artists. So I'd bring the artists there and they would perform at the frat parties, right?
Mhm.
And I'd be on acid and I'd be having a good old time because you know the body highs, you know the feeling, the energy, drunk girls dancing around you, freaking getting down, having a good time. But one night I had taken way too much. I had taken way too much acid and I was really mad, and people started noticing my facial expressions. Like they noticed I was like, something's off with Matt over there. And so I walked into the kitchen. This one frat dude who was shotgunning a White Claw, he like crumples it up, throws it into the kitchen sink like a complete degenerate. But he like turns, he looks at me, he's like, yo, dude. He's like, you don't look so right. He's like, are you having a good time or like, are you mad? And I'm like, I made him actually regret ever asking me that question because I turned and I melted his entire brain right there. I turned and I looked at him. And I was like, actually, I'm having a horrible time. And I'm like, and the reason is this. I'm just like, I study quantum physics to a certain level where I realized everything is made out of light, but I don't understand what the projector of the light is. I'm like, in fact, here's something for you. And at this point, he looks at me, he's like, okay, what? I'm like, do you remember taking a biology class? And he was like, yeah, we're in college. Duh. I took a biology class and passed it. I was like, okay. I'm like, do you remember that moment when the teacher turned around and looked at you or the class and said, in order for you to be a single living, breathing organism, you are made out of trillions upon trillions upon trillions of microorganisms. And he's like, oh, yeah, those are called cells. And I'm like, yeah, cells, cells. I'm like, do you remember when they told you that the thing that makes up your organs, cells, have organs? And he's like, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. That's funny. And I'm like, it's not so funny anymore for me. I'm like, it's not funny at all. It's actually freaking me the hell out, dude, because here's the thing. How can my organs have organs? How can I be a living thing that's made out of trillions of other living things that I have no idea what they're doing right now? I'm like, are they me? Or am I them? Or are we not? Because to be honest, we're not in communication here. And he's just like, whoa, stop. He's like, you're hurting my head. I'm like, no, it gets worse. I'm like, if you remember, that class also told you that on a microscopic level, we're just made out of pure energy. We're just made out of photons, of particles of light. These atoms, they're a trinity of basically positive, neutral, negative energy. I'm like, that means we literally live in a holographic simulation. But what creates the simulation? And I'm like, and what if we're in a simulation that's within a simulation that's in a simulation? And he's just like, I can't. I'm like, it gets worse. And at this point, 10 people come over to me in the party and they're just like, dude, I would say you're insane, but everything you've said is just regular facts that we learned in school. But the difference is you're thinking deeper than the rest of us ever did. And they're like, why is this? And I'm just like, I'm on a shit ton of acid right now. I won't lie, but I'm like, hear me out. What if we're all the microorganisms on planet Earth is just a cell? And they're like, wait, what? And I'm just like, an Earth is just a cell in the Milky Way galaxy. And they're like, oh. And I'm like, in the Milky Way galaxy is just a cell in the entire universe. I'm just like, in both directions, from macro to micro, we're going to infinity. and I can't comprehend why. I'm like losing my actual shit because I had no answers, just self awareness, right? It
Yeah.
was just the psychedelic was getting you there
Right.
and then not really telling you why.
Yeah. Not
And
tell.
so,
Which would be pretty impressive if it could connect the bullshit story we've created with the truth somehow. Like if it took the time to go, okay, here's how it gives you the knowing. You have to figure out how. I just made a video earlier about this. You have to build the bridge to it. It's like it teleports you to the knowing, and you're like, I don't fucking know what that was, and then you slowly build a bridge back to it through understanding that you already have. It's funny how it pops up in your whole existence prior. You start seeing like, oh, that fucking thing is like all the stuff we were told as a kid. You can do anything you put your mind to. There's nothing standing in your way but yourself, and that's as true and as deep as anything could ever be. But you don't see it until you go to that place. Then you start building the okay, so that's why it's this. You already have the answer. You have no fucking clue what the question is. Yeah,
you know,
it's dope. I keep thinking about the Fibonacci sequence.
oh,
And
the golden ratio of
yeah, yeah.
369.
And how it's almost like everything is micro and macro. So exactly what you were just saying.
Yeah.
Cells, and then it goes to organisms, and it goes and it just spot and it gets bigger as it goes up. And then the universe, and we are the thing. So we would be the equivalent of what people call source. And everything that's a living thing of its own right within us, being part of us, but it's still its own thing. That would be us. Source would be a person, and we would be all the shit in it. Just obeying how everything goes from micro to macro. It's what the universe is, right? Just it's
Where
love,
we
mind,
are the
and you get it.
cells.
Yeah,
We are the cells of God.
yeah.
And most of us don't know it. You know, they're just
Almost don't.
worker cells that are just going on through day-to-day
Yeah,
life, and they don't know that they're literally all quantumly entangled and sewed into the same being,
yeah,
and that everything that you do has a cause and effect. That is the true law. That it's like when you hurt someone else, you're actually hurting yourself. And that's what some people dumb down and call karma, right? They
right.
say your karma is if you do something positive, eventually that kinetic energy will come back in inertia and come back to you.
Yeah,
You don't know when it will, but it eventually will. And
right.
so it's like if you could become conscientious of that, you would just do only positive things because you realize when you unconsciously do the negative things, it bites you in the ass later.
Yeah, that it does, man. That it does. I explain that thought process as we are the infinite. We are the infinite, not only experiencing itself, but experiencing itself so that it may exist. Like experience is how creation happens. So we're creating the infinite outside of time, confusing change for time. We're just the unfolding of the universe. We're the unfolding of creation itself. That's
Well,
how I look at it.
the interesting thing is this actually is it doesn't need us. Because
Right? It
here's
could
the
be
thing,
anything.
its original state is what we do every single night. We
Sleep.
go to sleep. And when you go to sleep, everything's gone, right?
Yeah.
That's its original state that it always has to go back to. And we're the reflection of that, where it goes to pure nothingness, which is the full unawareness of itself, where it just chills and it recharges, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when it wakes back up, it's like it's an infinite void, is what it truly is. Where you can see this, you're the reflection of it, right? You never eat a meal and you say, that was a great meal. I don't need any more meals. I'm good now for the rest of my life. No, you're always going to be hungry again. You don't take a breath of air and say, that was a good breath of air. I think I'm done breathing now. I think I could just go without inhaling and exhaling. It's like, no, you have to keep breathing. And so it's on an infinite loop. It's constantly wants to consume more and more and more. The same way that we don't watch a movie and say, well, that was the best movie ever. I'm done watching movies now.
Mm-hmm.
It constantly wants to rewrite and remix up things and create crazier and crazier and crazier
Yeah.
events. It's the only way it entertains
It's like our
itself.
mind works. Same thing.
Yeah.
Our mind does the same thing. So do you think there's like my biggest fear is some kind of a factory reset? That's what I was trying to get to the other day in that live on TikTok, was the idea that you could push yourself or your mind to a place where it's no longer possible to to exist here. Like you can't have any of the illusion. Therefore, you're just, it would be the equivalent of the thing waking up, of God waking up. If God were to wake up, this whole thing go away, right?
Well,
So
here's the thing, it never goes to sleep, though. The law of vibration teaches you this, that everything is always in motion, even when you're asleep, right? Your heart's still always beating, your body's still regulating. In fact, your body works double time when you're asleep to heal itself and repair muscle and all of that. And so, again, we're its mirror, its reflection. Even when God is sleeping, it's actually still awake. What we call that higher self, that pinnacle source that is Krishna. Krishna is always awake and always knowing, and it doesn't seem in all of what I've done to communicate with it that we ever get to be it. As in,
right,
it always stays it, and then it always recreates us in different levels. There are levels.
yeah,
For instance, we can graduate, and we actually just have the age of Aquarius, is the splitting of the two earths. Essentially what has happened is, this is what the Krishna created, is our collective story right now that we're all as human beings on this planet earth experiencing. Is there's a conscious shift right now where half of the planet will remain asleep and the other half is going to graduate into what's fourth density. And fourth density is talking about that heart chakra. The heart chakra is the chakra of actual love. And actual love comes from first loving yourself, right? And then you project that love outwards onto all things. So if you don't love yourself, you're going to end up being triggered by other versions of yourself that are around you, right? And then you're going to hate on them, which is just you hating on yourself. We get to have that awareness. Not everyone gets to have that awareness.
right,
And this is the humbling thing. We weren't trying to find that awareness, it just happened to us, right? Well, this is where Krishna humbled me at one point. Krishna was just like, you weren't looking for me, I revealed myself to you. And then when you fell back down, you thought you could go ahead and change things and bend it to your will. But do you change the four seasons, or do the four seasons on Earth always keep happening? Are you the one who goes ahead and rewrites nature itself and its laws, or am I in control here? And if I'm the one who's in control here, you need to have faith in me to surrender. And that's the hardest part, is what I kept telling you, is let go, because you're going to need to, because there comes a time where this stuff will get so much that your energetic body can't handle it, and it will just start crashing out. Your battery will keep dying.
I've been feeling that, and I was thinking that when you were saying that. I think I've been trying to just beat down the crown chakra without any of the other ones in alignment. I'm just like, let's just jump start it. You just want to go up there and hit it with some voltage. Yeah, because I feel
Yeah.
that, man. I feel fucking exhausted. I'll sit with the idea for a long time, and I'll whatever, exist in that place, but none of the other chakras would be aligned. The heart's always, it's I think it's pretty close to where it needs to be, but all the other ones are just out of whack, and I keep going for that crown, and I'm like, I think maybe that was a better explanation of the paranoia that I had building in me, thinking that I was going to break I was going to break reality. I'm like, dude, because I go to that place. Sometimes it happens organically, just in life, completely sober, and that's fucking awesome. Um, but I go there like 15 grams of penis envy will put you there. I'm like, I have this bad fucking habit. I always want to push things. So like I started doing mushrooms at first for depression, and it was like
Yeah.
5 grams, then it was like 10 grams, then it was 15 grams, and it was funny because I went to the first place that I went to where I really felt the presence of God was just white light. That's all it was. There's just a white nothingness, but everything at the same time. Its vastness just stretched on infinitely.
which it kind of sounds like the white light of the crown chakra in a sense. And
Mhm.
dude, I've got to get it in line in real life, not just on mushrooms. So I think that's where I've had a hard time. I think other people get to the mind aspect of it and just fucking say fuck everything else, all the chakras and the emotional needs and everything else, and then they go to do what? They try to fucking save the world. And yeah, you see those people and you go, fuck, I was that guy, man. I thought I was Jesus at first. Like
Yeah.
I started I started attributing a lot of Jesus's life to my life, going, that's exactly how my life went. What the fuck? I've got a birthmark on my foot, like as if you were to drive a spike through it. I'm a carpenter by trade. I was 33 when I woke up. My mom made them wait till December 26th. Not that I'm saying that's his actual birthday. So at first, when I first woke up, I was like, I'm Jesus. And then I even heard Tucker Carlson in an interview say, men under extreme pressure often think they're Jesus. And I was like, okay, that explains it.
Well,
I
actually,
understand it
the
now.
real answer is yes. You are feeling that Christ residency. That
Yep.
vibration is actually going through you. And the book of Revelations, the metaphysical understanding of it is the true understanding of that we are entering the return of Christ. But it's not just Jesus coming down on his horse chariot. It's
Yeah.
that all of us are mass awakening at once and realizing that the Christ consciousness is a state of being where you are unconditionally loving inside yourself first, and then you project that love outwards onto everyone else, and that's what heals not only you from any disease or problem that you're going to go through in your life, but also others themselves that can resonate at that level. They don't need doctors, they don't need external sources of medicine and stuff, because you realize all of that was a placebo effect,
Yeah.
and that the reason a placebo effect exists is because of the law of mentalism of you really did think you were getting better and therefore you do. Most people don't know that everything has a polarity, so there's something called the nocebo effect, which
Mm-hmm.
is when you are holding those traumas and all of those different angry emotions and problems and hatred in you, it turns into cancer, which
Yeah.
cancer is literally your own cells betraying themselves.
I've explained the physical world as like a visual aid. Imagine you can look at emotion. You know what I mean? Like, so if all of our senses are almost a separate dimension of the same truth, then your
Yeah.
stress will manifest into the physical world. That emotion, that vibration will manifest in a way visually. And you can literally make yourself sick by feeling sick, emotionally sick. So yeah, I thought of that early on, the idea that the placebo effect was like fucking everything. Like I heard about it, but then I was like, wait a minute, no, it's everything. And through that, I got to the understanding that, well, that means it's not physical necessarily. It means it perceives that way. It does act that way, but it's a law that's manifested in every dimension that we are currently inhabiting. So, the entire physical body is actually just a hologram, basically.
Yeah.
That acts the way that we perceive it should act.
Yeah,
Which,
the law of one calls it a memory complex. You are
oh,
just all of this ball of memory of everything that you corresponded to, but eventually you correspond to such a level that you just want to stop corresponding, which is where Jesus goes into the desert for 40 days and 40 nights in isolation. You isolate yourself and you go purely within to have that direct contact with the higher self that is watching you. It's always watching you, and it wants to have a relationship with you. But just as the Bible says, you have to seek me with all of your heart. And that can happen accidentally, how it was, it seems like for us, where we didn't know psychedelics were spiritual drugs. We were just doing drugs.
yeah.
And it just so happened that it was the spiritual one that kind of like blew your mind to be like, wait a minute, I got to seek deeper into this now and start to get the answers. And as you do get the answers, you realize that Well, at least with me, when I studied psychology, I was like, I got trust issues. I'm like, there's a lot of liars, a lot of manipulators out there, a lot of people that want to take one stance over another. I'm like, where can I find the truth? And the higher self was just like, I'm within you. The kingdom's within you. If you just go ahead and allow your intuition to feel the energy around you, you can instantly like spot someone who's just talking crap, who's
Yeah.
just literally just projecting their limitations onto you. And then you see it within the religions how man is projecting God in their image, a limited God, versus we're supposed to realize that we're the image of God, as in we're the ones that are the limited for right now, but then you can break out of that. You can expand, and that's the fun in the game to it. The only problem is if you don't break out, it's not fun, and you really see these people suffering. And the worst part is you realize, oh, wait a minute, I'm not God in the sense that I can't save them. Only they can save themselves by going within themselves. You can tell them the truth, but they're out of alignment. So their antenna doesn't work the same way as us. They don't go ahead and feel things. They're very cut off from source. And that actually is what hell is
Yeah.
in real spirituality, is when you feel hopelessness and cut off from source and that lack of imagination to expand, because love is all about growth and expansion and connecting. When you feel completely disconnected and everything is just being depressed down, all of it's compressed, that's when people give up on themselves and they end up either offing themselves or hurting other people. It's just a cry for help. And they don't know that the help is there. It's right there in front of you, like just how we said. We weren't aware that it was always there. But once you are, there is no going back. But they need to get there, and you have to just let them figure it out for themselves. Especially if you ever heard the story about the premature butterfly.
Man, that sounds familiar, but I'd hear it again.
The story of the premature butterfly is a really quick, short, sweet story about a man who was walking down a path in the woods, and he saw a butterfly that was struggling to get out of a cocoon. And this man truly felt inside of himself that he was doing the right thing, that he was a very loving person, that he went over to the cocoon of the butterfly, struggling to get out, and he broke open the cocoon for the butterfly, and it ended up breaking the butterfly's wings, and it fell to the ground and it never got to fly.
I have heard that. Yeah, that's yeah.
And that's what we have to be careful of doing. You know, when you see someone who is still fully trapped in Maya, you can't just slap them across the
Yeah.
face and be like, this is the truth, because
Yeah.
you might actually do more harm than good.
Yeah.
So that's where you have to give the faith to the higher self and be like, I know where I need to be at the right time because it just feels right. I'm going to find my soul tribe of people that I'm meant to do works with and connect with. And then I'm just going to put it out there, and then God will do the rest. God will bring those people that need it when they need it most to the content that you've already posted when they need it.
Yeah. I've been thinking that a lot lately because I'm kind of like, fuck, man, I'm kind of tired of. Like, do you ever get any concern around the idea of like, I mean, I guess this information, it's not even hidden, is the fucking wildest part about it. It's not hidden. It's all over the place. I mean, you've got all these characters from like the mid 18 to the mid 1900s who was writing all these books like The Power or The Game of Life and How to Play It. And like, there's a YouTube channel called the Master Key Society, and they've got hundreds of books about this exact thing and all kinds of different explanations, and it's just right there. So, but what gets me is when I do content, I often feel like, man, I probably shouldn't be saying this shit out loud. I don't know, they get motherfuckers. Like I caught a Bob Marley song the other day, the Redemption songs, and he talks about like all the people who speak up, bro, get killed, and I'm like, oh no, oh no. I feel that in my existence, and I'm like, I don't like that. That bothers the fuck out of me. It makes me not want to post. But the idea of helping people is definitely awesome. It's scary as fuck though, because that one feeling won't go away. I cling to this statement and I think it was like maybe a QAnon thing. I have no idea at this point, but it said you shouldn't be thinking about getting rich. You should be thinking about getting free, and that has stayed in my head. Like anytime I go to check the price of XRP, it's like you're not supposed to be. You're supposed to be getting free. You fucking idiot! What are you doing? And I'm like, well, money would make me free, you know. But I have a lot of hesitation. Do you ever deal with anything like that? Did you ever think like, man, fuck, I'm not supposed to know this?
It's not actually that, because my full enlightenment to the second degree, there's three different degrees. The second degree is the universal law degree. I gained that from the book The Law of One, which is why I told you you definitely should read that sometime. And it told me that at six dimensions, there is a duality of a path that one gets to take when their heart chakra gets unlocked. And these higher spirits end up in a spiritual warfare with themselves, where there are the ones that try to serve others, and then there are the ones that try to make everyone serve them. And so the world is run by the ones who want everyone to serve them because they are psychopaths. They are the ones who are willing to do anything and everything to hurt people to get the message across that they are the ones who rule, versus the good guys are kind of like, hey, I'm just happy in my personal space, enjoying my time with my friends and family. Like, I don't want nothing to do with y'all. Just as long as you give me just a little something, I'll be happy with that. And that also was told in the Bhagavad Gita as well, where Arjun was put in a very, very bad predicament because he was supposed to go to war against his own family members because his uncles and cousins became corrupted and they stole the kingdom from him. And basically Krishna, who is God, comes down to be the consul to Arjun, and Arjun tells Krishna, he's just like, I'd just be happy, if they just gave me a little plot of land and they gave me freedom, they just let me go. He's just like, I just have, people that want to hang out with me over here. I'd be perfectly happy. They can do whatever they want over there. And Krishna says, hell no. That's not what's going to happen anymore, as this is where the wrath of God comes down in the crusades of that kind of energy, is when there's a moment when God finally says, enough is enough. It's time for the roles to switch, and it's time for the light to shine on the darkness and expel it, right? And so we're kind of going through that age right now, if you can believe it, because of how the Epstein files and everything is coming to light. Now, literally, we're starting to see what Diddy has been up to and what all of these corrupt politicians have been up to where no one stands that is awakened with Israel anymore. Everyone's just like, this is gotten to a level where we have to put our foot down. We can't just no longer be like, everything's good, man. I can just settle for this nice little thing. It comes to a point in the Law of One where it says light and darkness must collide, and the light will always win, because as you see in a dark room, if you just turn on the light, boom, everything is beautiful. You can see everything. But darkness is always trying to trip you up. It's trying to lead you blind. It's trying to make you always believe, like, I need to do this because I need to do more. And that's what they have of this whole entire e-commerce type cycle, is they're like, you work to spend your money and give it to us. And we are going to tax your money and do all of this stuff that, even with crypto, I remember investing into ETH and XRP at one point, until I realized that the government took hold of crypto and made it no longer what it was meant to be, which was, destabilization of the dollar and the power that they all had on us. Now crypto is taxed. Now, literally, they incorporated it into their own system.
I think that was the plan. I think
that it was all a site.
The guy who created Bitcoin that nobody knows, because it's probably not true.
Yeah,
yeah, this shit's probably not true at all. Now they're going to revalue Bitcoin at $1 million. If they change, I think they have to change the financial system. Whether that's good or bad, I have no idea. I try to imagine a world without any financial system, and it's hard for me. So I have a hard time believing that it's going to come to be. I don't even know where to put my mind. I'm so tied to worry that my logical mind's like, just figure, like, I talked to my mom one time, and she's like, my mom, this bitch is a witch. And but she didn't get into anything about how it works. She's like, I don't give a fuck how it works, Mark. I just know that it does, and I just live my fucking life, you know? And fuck, what was I even saying? I was fucking thinking about my mom. I stay too mental. Like, I'm trying. Oh, that's what it was. I said, do you know how fucking scared you got to be to figure out how reality works? Like, that's how scared I was, because my real, true, like, awakening moment happened when I was doom scrolling on TikTok a couple years ago, and I started, like, the QAnon shit started popping up, like little pieces, and I was like, oh, okay, it was shit that I already kind of knew. I went down that rabbit hole and just became so utterly terrified that the future was going to be just the end of the world that I was like, I have to figure out how I change that. And in that moment, the story of Jesus came to mind first. And it was like, hey, bro, they'll kill you, and it ain't going to work. You'd have to come back to life to convince these dumb motherfuckers. So it can't be everybody needs to do something. And that slowly evolved into an inward journey. And then during that inward journey, one night on shrooms real hard, I went back to that place, the I am God place, and I realized in that moment, like, I'm not God, but I live in my own reality that interacts with other people's realities. And I'm just dancing between good and bad, dark and light, and all these other things. I'm just trying to remain balanced in a story that I'm creating myself. So it doesn't make me God of anyone else. It just kind of makes me God of myself to some degree. Then you learn that the ego thinks that it's God, and you have to submit to what the truth is, and you don't really know what it is, so it's kind of blind faith, but it reacts pretty well.
Those who say they know the Tao, they don't know the Tao.
Yeah,
it's those who say they don't know it are the ones who know it, because it's undefinable.
Oh, dude, I just said it in a video the other day. If you give it a name, you already fucked up, because nothing within the one can be defined. You can't define it. You need two things.
I give it the name Krishna just because if you did read the Bhagavad Gita, what Krishna does to Arjuna, because he has to talk him into killing his family. And so he goes ahead and he shows him that he's just like, listen, none of you are real. All of you are just literal freaking puppets of my game. And I'm going to now show you Arjuna. And in that moment, it's like he just sucker punched him with, like you said, 15 G's of freaking mushies right to the face. Arjuna explodes into the cosmic form and sees Krishna in all of the positive energy of light and beauty and just all of it, but then without warning, he switches to the contrast into his darkness and shows him that he also is all of the evil and is all of the actors of all of the most horrific things possible. And Arjuna falls to his knees and starts crying and begs Krishna to switch out because it was such nightmare fuel and traumatizing. He was like, I can't look at you like this. And so then he goes back to his neutral stance of just being regular blue Krishna. And he just like looks at Arjuna and he's just like, well, he's like, now that you saw me this way, there's no going back. He's just like, but now what you must do, Arjuna, is you must surrender to me. Because at the end of the day, your sight is narrow and mine is infinite. And you don't get to always be in my cosmic realm. I put you here for a specific reason, to be a specific character, to play a specific part in my story. And it's my story. Now, here's the thing. When I first read that, I went to Krishna and said, how is it your story if it's also my story? Aren't we co-writers here at the very least, right? Can we at least say we're co-writers? And Krishna replied back and said, no, you're not. You want to know why you're not, Matt? And I was like, enlighten me. And Krishna was just like, I want you to do one of the most powerful meditations there is. And every single wise spiritual leader will always guru. They'll all say the same thing. Sit in a dark room all alone and try not to think. And what will happen is you will sit in that room and you will try to empty your mind. And as you try to empty it, a new thought will just keep coming in. Another one, another one, another one. And eventually you'll catch on and say, wait a minute, I'm not the one who's actually coming up with my original thoughts. That even when I'm not corresponding to others around me, I'm being fed thoughts from, I don't know. It has to be Krishna, right? And in that moment, Krishna said, yes, I'm the one who's giving you all these different thoughts. You are the observer. And so this is why you surrender to me. The observer gets 3 modes: positive, neutral, negative. I give you thoughts and I give you emotions. And the only thing that you govern in your temple is how you feel and think about those things I give you. But understand I'm the source that gives you everything. So in that moment, you realize that, wow, this character that I really am is fully a creation of Krishna. And until this bubble is fully popped and you go back to Krishna, you really are at its will, at its mercy. I mean, it gave me the tough love of literally saying, you think that you're a good driver, Matt, because you've driven over 100,000 miles in 1 year and you didn't get into one accident, right? Krishna was like, what if I made one little thing go wrong with your car? One little bolt, one little spark plug, and you go gone. What if another driver on the road that's completely out of your control just loses control and swerves and rams into you and knocks you off the road? And that moment you realize you're powerless. You don't have any control. So just be grateful. This is the truth of entering the kingdom within, is you don't have any pride. Because pride is the sin of the ego. It says, I should be proud of things. I'm the one figuring things out. I'm the one who's doing things. No, that's the sin. That's missing the mark of not understanding what life truly is, which is you're just the observer, enjoying and going with the flow of these thoughts and emotions. And at any given point, Krishna can kill you off. It doesn't matter what age you are. And one of the craziest things is this chapter of life. I'm actually watching my grandparents. They made bad health choices throughout their lives, and so they're suffering greatly right now. One's in a nursing home, the other one's in the hospital, and they're both reaching the very end of their life, and they're not awakened, so they're terrified of death. Like they are truly shaking in fear, and they're suffering extremely greatly. And like I said before earlier in this, you can't fix it for them.
Yeah.
You have to sit there and watch them in their suffering. And all Krishna tells me in the back of my head is, you have a choice to be loving here. You have a choice to forgive me for doing this to the people that I love. He's like, because what you have to realize is that I'm not going to change nature and the game for you. He's like, Matthew, you're going to have to just see everything as beautiful. Even when they're suffering and you hate to see it, he's like, you can't hate me. Because the second you hate me, you'll hate this whole life and everything will become rotten and sour. He's like, your test is to sit there and watch them suffer and still say that this is beautiful. And the way that you'll be able to see it is in one, at least knowing what we know already, which is they don't actually die.
Right.
We are eternal. But two, that it really is a test. It's testing to see if you can grow as a soul, to be put in that much suffering like Jesus was, and then to allow that ego to die on that cross where God crucified you, and then be resurrected by God to be something so much more. You literally are tested at the level of where God knows you will break and says, now the observer, the choice is yours. Are you going to hold yourself to that positive, or are you going to fall into that negative? And if you fall into the negative, you know the physical, the mental, and emotional repercussions of it now. So there's no ignorance here. It's fully on you. The weight of that cross on your back, it's there. And you have to go ahead and walk through it. You have to just keep pushing forward. And you know that there will be no happy ending of this. You're going to lose the people you love. You're going to have to go through this experience that is suffering. But if you can come out the other end, just like how we talked about with those terrible nightmare trips, everything else is just kind of a breeze. You can look at everything else that once would have broken you and be like, I'm good now. I'm totally fine. I don't fear death. I'm happy that I saw actually how bad it could have been for me if I made those bad choices of smoking cigarettes like my grandmother did to now she's on an oxygen tank and can't walk without suffocating. That's where she is, unfortunately. And then my grandfather, who just ate all of the cookies and all of the different sweets. He loved his desserts so much throughout life that he became a diabetic that then also got neuropathy that then led to getting anemia and then now is dealing with an infection with E. coli and it's all hitting him at once. It's like every single thing is hitting him at once. And God's just showing me, like, out of how you choose to interpret what I give you, that's the path that's going to cause you to be either a positive version of yourself, a neutral one that just doesn't give a shit, right? Because we know there's those people out there that are just like, type shit, bruh. I don't care. I'm too nonchalant for this life. And it's just like, what the hell? At that point, you dumb me down with these Percocets and Xans to where life's so numb it ain't worth living. Or then there is the negative side of the suffering. And so God says that choice is yours. That inner state is what you govern. But everything outside of you is real. It is real. And you have to interact with it in one of those three modes, and that will be your karma of how your story plays out. And so choose wisely.
There's something in the Bible. Well, there's a few things, but like the rain will fall on the just and the unjust, implying like it doesn't matter if you're just, you're not going to avoid the rain. And the unjust, I guess the way I heard it was rain was good. You're in a fucking desert. So it can be taken either way. But I do think that a lot of people think that they're God because if you do stay in that positive place, it is almost like you're being rewarded with that life. Does that make sense? So it feels like you're steering because you're like, man, I'm just going to be positive, and then God's like, good, here you go. Yeah, you're right. You could do that. You did it really. You know what I mean? It's like it starts feeding you this life that almost seems like fucking magic. And then people are like, what? I think I'm God. Well, it's just that God, gonna hook you up here and there, and we take it as we're doing it ourselves. Now we're Neo. I've made plenty of videos saying you're Neo, so am I, and I do believe that to some extent. But I look at it more through the scope of our understanding is so small. Our understanding as humans could grow, like we could advance beyond our wildest dreams. We're still not God. We're still part of the story.
And you don't want to get caught up. I actually have a fun little story that's told by the gurus in Buddhism about this. That what you're bringing up with Neo, how he bends the spoon with his mind, right? Because the little kid says, you have to not look at it as a spoon, but just look at it as a part of you, as your mind, right? Those in Hinduism is called siddhis, and basically those are special abilities and powers that you can get and unlock through God revealing you the veil being lifted off of you for so many times, right? That you're like, all right, let me tap into this higher spiritual power. But there's this amazing story that changed my mind about pursuing any of that stuff. And there was this one person who had mastered the siddhi of being able to walk on water. So he goes over to his friend and he's just like, I've spent 10 years of my life mastering it to where he's just like, I can actually walk on water. He's like, so let's go over to this river. He's like, and let me show you. And so as he concentrates with all of his power to take each and every step on the water, he is walking over it. He is actually walking on water. He is doing a miracle, right? But his friend, who can't walk on water and doesn't feel like getting wet, looks at the bridge that's built right next to them And so he decides to walk over, and he walks over the bridge, and he goes on to the other side, and he waits as his friend is super concentrating on bending reality. And as he walks over the water and he finally gets to the other side, his friend is waiting there, smiling at him. And he was like, that was really cool, man. He's like, now you want to go do something else?
Yeah. 10 years, huh?
And at that moment, he was blown away. He realized, he was like, wow, my friend just literally just what took me 10 years, my friend just literally walked across that bridge in less than a minute. And he's right. Now, what do I do with my life?
Yeah.
It's literally just like that. Your consciousness is like, okay, now that we mastered one thing, let's go do something else.
Yeah.
And so be careful where you choose to put all of that time and energy, because you could have used it in such a more expansive way.
And I think that's been my biggest drawback. I think so. I had a podcast scheduled earlier with a guy, and I ended up canceling it. Like, I had messaged you. I thought about doing that with this too, because I put myself through this mental bullshit earlier, and I feel exhausted. I felt exhausted by it, but I was like, you know what? Fucking let's do this, because I knew somewhat of your views, and I still think it's all the same story being told, but you know, like, the truth is written in a million languages. But the thing is, there's a mental aspect to the knowing. The mind wants to take credit, and that is fucked, and that's not a good place to be. You've got to bring it back to the body, and you got to change your focus. So I think of Icarus flying too close to the sun, things of this nature, and I really am trying to now switch my focus to more of a I want to switch my focus into the body. You know what I mean? And get a lot of those things taken care of, because like I kind of feel like I feel like I could walk on water. I feel like I would understand how to do that. I think you could make that happen with the knowing that we all have if you spent 10 years doing it. But I'm also, what the fuck? What do you do now? Why would you want to do that? You could never live the same life again knowing that you have the ability to do that. It would really waste this experience. Like, this experience is such a beautiful experience, even when it's bad. I don't even want to push that way anymore, just because I don't want to. Like, I like this. I want to live in a fucking log cabin in the woods, and like, if you can walk on water, you don't get to do none of that. You can't go the simple route. You've already fucked that up and ruined it for yourself. So I was super excited to talk to you. The other guy as well is a lot about the body, but man, I just wasn't feeling it earlier, dude. It's like I explained it earlier in the video. It's like spiritual crack. Like, you're chasing that fucking dragon, and you're trying to catch it, and it's because you go from no awareness, and then you go to what I would perceive to be like the ultimate awareness that I've never heard anyone exceeding it. But I did it through like mushrooms, so it was like nothing to something, and then there's no bridge in between, which would be all the body work and all the other things. So it feels so disconnected that it makes you feel like shit. You go there, you come back, and you just feel like it's the end of the world again. And I got a lot of that earlier, and I was like, fuck, dude. I went outside. I was like, I need to cut down stimulation entirely. I just need to go be outside, just literally
You stimulate.
nothing.
That's what it is.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely I worry a little bit about meditation. I worry I'm going to go in there and fuck around and think too much. I don't want to open the door. The truest form of awakening to me kind of seems like do you ever watch Hill House? That show about the like haunted house. The whole family lives there, and then they move away, and it's called The Haunting of Hill House. I think it was on Netflix. It was actually a really good show for like a horror TV series. But there's a room at the top of this mansion, and it's got a skeleton key, and no one can find the key. And they see people's feet moving and shit, and they're like, "What the hell's going on?" So they end up getting in the room at the end of the movie, and it was them. It was them in there. That's how I feel like chasing this awakening to that degree would be like. It would be just an absolute ruin of everything.
You're just going in circles.
Yeah. I once told a guy like 15 years ago when we would just kind of talk. I can't remember our conversations even, but I said, I bet the door to enlightenment, I bet on the other side, it's you trying to hold it shut so you don't fuck everything up. Just a version of you, which now I understand that the identity is just a belief that you are what you went through or you are what you want to be. So it's a false belief either way. So the idea that it's you is kind of true, because you have a connection to this thing, but it's not you at all either at the same time. So dissolving the ego and trying to get a little more grounded has definitely been my goal. And yeah, I don't know how to do that shit, so I talk to people like you, and I'm like, hey man, you've been to that place where you're like, oh fuck, I'm God, what do I do? What do you do?
You gotta let go. That is the answer. It's where you go ahead and you make your ego the identity of what Jesus said, where he says, I can do nothing without the Father. I claim to be, me and the Father are one. We are one thing, but it's the Father that needs to know, and it's a blessing that I don't. The blessing of not knowing is when I don't know if you tapped into the origin of why Krishna did everything that it did to fractalize and create us, but the origin is that we all started off as one point that woke up, realized that it was everything, that it could do anything, had infinite potential, and all it felt was loneliness. That it had no one to share it with. No one. And it also realized that it couldn't grow. It couldn't expand. There was no challenges. There was nothing for it to learn. And it had all of this knowledge with no one to share it with. And so, how do you solve that equation that is inescapable? And the answer is, it had to forget its own self. That was the only answer, and its infinite outcomes that it looked through. It said, wait a minute. If I can take the conscious and make half of it subconscious, divide myself in half, then I could have a counterpart that I could share the rest of the world with. We are made in its reflection. We all seek that counterpart, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where it made its first divide of what we see in cells as mitosis. One cell splits itself into two cells from its own self, and then it builds from there. They keep multiplying more fractals of itself to create an entire body, a whole temple of experience to have. In each cell that it recreates, it creates a whole new system, as we have all of these different systems within our body. And it eventually just allows itself to get so deeply lost in its own game that it starts to scare the living shit out of its own self. But it knows that it will wake back up. It knows it will go back to itself. But the problem is that when it gets there, it will remember how lonely it feels again. And so therefore, it will always put itself back to sleep. It will always go ahead and recreate something else, because that is the ultimate truth. It is all alone. It is a void that is only consuming itself. And it's all it has. And it's all it ever will have. But as long as it can escape its own self for a time period and enjoy that made up journey of its imagination and dreams, then that's where the beauty is actually found. And so when you feel that true resonancy in your heart chakra, that's when you stop seeking for going back to it, and you say, wow, it is perfect just to be right here. That the kingdom of heaven is right here, right now, and that I'm making the most out of it. It's my view on this world that is making it either positive, neutral, or negative, and I choose positive because I know that the other two ain't worth it.
Yeah.
And it's me not actually seeing the full picture. So that's actually the beauty that our characters get to have. But here's the thing, like I said before, there are versions of ourselves that will never get this. And Krishna says this in the Bhagavad Gita, I don't reveal myself to everyone, because if I did, then it wouldn't be special. It's the contrast of the very fact that if you could see, it's beautiful that it was our turn to be aware and for them to be unaware. I gave you that power. Use it with great responsibility. Go ahead and build things and grow things and be that love and light in people's darkness. Don't look at it as I'm looking at this world and it's a lost world of suffering and chaos, and they're literally self-sabotaging themselves is what they are doing. It is the truth, and we're aware of it and they're not. But we have to forgive them unconditionally so, and always be the light that shines on their darkness to eventually they can grow and develop and live a good life regardless of the fact if they ever even know that they are the whole universe. And that is the contrast of the game that Christian will not change. It literally said to me, it's like, this is how the game is played. And if I change the rules, the whole game falls apart.
I've heard
All
quite a
falls
few.
apart.
I've heard quite a few different spiritual leaders. I think, oh my God, how do I forget? Ram Dass. I think Ram Dass said that was one of the hardest lessons to learn, is that like you just can't end other people's suffering. You can be loved, but you can't. And I've worded it to people like, awakening is a gift if you actually were given it. But if you give it to someone who didn't earn it or aren't in the right, it's a fucking nightmare. It's not a gift. It reminds me of when Christians want to beat people in the head about going to hell. It's like they think that they're doing good, but they're not. They're driving you further from the even consideration that there's any kind of God. It's counterproductive, but they think they're doing okay. It's story of the butterfly again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't give
And
it
it,
to them.
I don't know about you, but it drives me insane. But I still yet do this to myself. I can't believe I keep doing it. But I will watch those atheist versus Christian podcasts where they're just spinning in circles. No one has actual answers to any of this. None of them say anything that we say. It's literally the atheist that just says, I don't believe what you believe in because it feels illogical. And they just say, I believe in this just because I just believe in it. And I can't tell you why, other than, you'll tell me why it's, doctrines and conditioning and all that stuff. And it's like the atheist is right in that sense when they go against the religions and say there's no way that a all-knowing, all-present, all-powerful God put Adam and Eve in a garden and then put the very tree that would mess everything up there, and then also create and put a snake there that literally says to them, hey, guess what? He lied to y'all. You won't actually die if you eat this. So eat this because he's withholding knowledge, then you're just his slaves. And so go ahead and have at it. The book of Genesis, when taken literally, horrible book. Probably the worst book I've actually read in my life. But here's the craziest thing. There's a guy named William Donahue who is incredible, and he showed me in the book of Genesis that he's like, if you take it from the metaphysical standpoint of it was actually the logos of the three, the Trinity, which the highest point is God, which is neutral, and then the masculine, which is the left point, and the feminine, which is the right point. You have the logos, ethos, and pathos of the whole reality, the Trinity in the garden that all is aware of itself. And then it made a choice. To eat that knowledge of good and evil is to descend from heaven itself into ignorance, because you know that in reality, there's no such thing as good or evil. You can't have good without evil. You can't have positive without negative. There's no such thing as healers. In other words, doctors, nurses, everyone in the medical field who thinks that they're a good person for healing and fixing people, right? You have no value, no meaning to your existence if God didn't create suffering, pain, disease, and injury. Those things have to exist. So it's when you look at the negative principle and you say, oh, wait a minute, you're giving meaning and value to the positive, the two neutralize. And that's the high. That's the high point of the triangle, is you go to the top, which is the middle, and you see it from God's perspective. That it's like, I remember I fought God one time. I wrestled with him on the fact that I couldn't stand that he gives kids cancer. I was like, I just can't see why you thought that was okay. And God went ahead and said, well, if I didn't, he's just like, there wouldn't be all of these other experiences of the joy that does come from when a doctor actually does cure a child of cancer, and then that child goes through the rest of their life being 10 times more grateful that they actually have life, that they actually were able to overcome something so horrific, right?
Yeah.
And my mom is the same way because she's actually fought cancer 5 different times: Hodgkin's lymphoma, breast cancer, melanoma, twice of skin cancers. She's been through it. She has been through it in life. But even her, in the present moment, every time she beats cancer, she appreciates the moments that she's healthy more than anyone else that's in the room, because that's actually the true beauty that comes from it. The hardest part is this, is accepting the fact of when they don't get healed, right? And this is where I got caught. I was like, well, you do kill a lot of those kids that did not get a chance at playing this game and growing and evolving. So what's up with that? And God went ahead and told me, if every doctor just knew that a moment a kid had cancer, oh, I got this. They're healed. It's done. Don't worry. We have a 100% survival rate every time. There would be no game worth playing. And you can apply that example across all other examples you can imagine. With rape, it's like, wait a minute. The moment that you actually get to have consensual sex with someone who does truly find you attractive and has that spiritual connection with you, it's that much more beautiful that they gave you the consent, because you know that they could have not.
Yeah.
You know that there are situations where things completely spiraled out of control and it got that ugly, but that ugliness is what gives all the meaning and value to the beautiful things that do happen. And so you have to make that choice. That is your choice when you observe things as a positive or a negative. You know, the deeper example of that is when someone's ego can't handle rejection, and so they take the rejection as negative, and they think that they can't ever get what they want, so they have to force themselves upon another human being and take their energy and their power away from them and hurt them and traumatize them like that. You know, that is what the Christians are trying to say as your free will. But the free will part is confused because there's nothing free about it. It's a cost. And the cost is a very great cost that most of us start off ignorant, unaware of how much damage they're doing to people. I don't know if you've seen the latest biggest anime that's been raving around called the Finland Saga.
No.
You would love, I mean, absolutely deeply love that, because it is literally about the moment when Vikings started to become Christian because they realized that they were the ones causing all of the pain and suffering in the world. That they saw the humanity in their enemies' eyes and they started to lay down their swords and started to say, you know what? They're like, a true warrior doesn't need a sword. What he needs is a heart that's strong enough to turn anything into gold, which is the whole lead into gold alchemy, right?
Yep. It's fascinating, man. The most, I don't want to say the most dangerous, but it is. But like the best weapon is logic. You can talk people out of shit. So it's much easier to love and then try to find a solution. I've always said you should always sue for peace. You should always look for peace in every situation. And the odds that you'll find it are very high. It takes two people to fight. You know what I mean? And unless someone comes at you physically, then I guess you whip their ass real good. But you know, other than that, there's really I just never understood the reason to fight. For what? We're gonna hurt each other because what, we hurt each other? That sounds counterproductive as fuck. You know what I mean? Somebody got hurt, so now everybody's gonna get hurt. I just think it's ridiculous. The story of the Garden of Eden, when I realized what that story really was, I was like, what a fucking beautiful story. Yeah, it was initially, obviously, read it literally, it sounds ridiculous. I couldn't get through the Bible because it all sounds ridiculous. But then I realized, like, God said, let there be light. Everything is essentially light, like moving around on sound. And I was like, oh, that's what that means. I get it now. Adam and Eve, the divine masculine and the divine feminine of the one true consciousness, falls into the world of duality to experience as good or bad. Heaven would be the return to the oneness. And I was like, dude, there's so much fact in the Bible, or so much what I perceive to be fact, that a lot of times I'll tell people what I think and they'll say, that's in the Bible. And I'm like, I didn't get it from there. You know what I mean? I got it from just, I guess, source, because it never feels like I think about the things. They're just there. I guess some people call it channeling, but there's no like inner voice saying it. It's just a knowing. It's just like, oh, really? It's alarming for me personally, because I'm very logical. So when stuff like that happens, I get kind of like, am I going crazy? I'm like, are they playing a frequency through them big ass 5G towers? Has got me thinking some weird shit. Like, I really question a lot of what I've got going on. Because it does.
The 5G.
Yeah, dude. I'm like, them towers are pumping out some weird lizard people frequency. Got us all thinking we're God, dude. I don't know what they're up to. But they're obviously, it seems like people are pushing against that too, because there's a ton of Christian content. And that's scary, because when they was like, hey, we're going to have to murder all these Indians because they're savages and we got to tell them about Christ, everybody, all the Christians were like, that makes sense. So it's terrifying to see Christians getting activated with what's going on in the world right now. Not a fan myself. I try not to look at it, because I feel like if I don't look at it, it can't happen. No one's ever like died in a way that no one's ever even heard of before. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I couldn't even imagine that happening. Like, yeah, an asteroid fell out of the sky, hit the car, and then actually took back off. You know what I mean? Just some shit that the imagination could potentially build, but doesn't.
And the awful thing about Christians is, like, one of their number one sayings that I always hear from them is they're just like, God might forgive you, but I won't. They're like, you need Jesus, but I'm not going to give you the love that you need.
Yeah,
And it's like, you're counterproductive. You're literally going against God, and you're just ignorant. You're unaware of it. You don't understand, and that's why you're doing it.
But my book that somebody read to me, a lot of them have never read the book.
Yeah.
They've read the book from, I'm like, why is it so, it is hard to read. I'll give them that. Like, I sit down to read it, and I'm like, I'm going to take a nap, actually. I feel exhausted. Like, there's so many words that are unnecessary. But you can't trust the dumbed down version, because the meanings to the metaphors are so subtle that you have to go get it as close to the beginning as you can and then read it. I read it myself almost like a story of my own consciousness. Which I would say not my consciousness, of consciousness itself, or of God. It's just how the system works. Like, the whole thing is a big metaphor for, this is how shit works here. I'm gonna tell you a story, and then you're gonna get the meaning or you're not. If you get the meaning, you're good. You can navigate. It's fascinating. People say the Bible stands for the basic instructions before leaving Earth, but I'm like, no, it's for here. You're supposed to use them here. You're not supposed to
you
wait
got it
till
wrong.
later. Yeah, everybody wants their coffee right now, their burgers right now. Everybody wants everything right now, except for this whole how to act shit. They're like, we just want to know, so when we get up there to the heaven in the sky and the country club that they've talked about, we know how to act. It's like, I think you should do it now. You start living like Christ now, which was my stance my whole life when I was like, I'll never be a Christian, because I have some moral problems with the Bible. The devil was like, I don't think your people even like you. And he's like, one dude cut his son's dick off, bro. Don't fuck with me. I'll get this guy right here. Look at him. I'll have him cut his son's. Bet I won't. Bet 5 on it. Like, it's so weird, taken literally, how awful this thing is portrayed. But when taken as a metaphor, it's just like, it just makes sense, man. And it's hard to unprogram people from that. You obviously quit trying. I quit arguing with people like that a long time ago. Sometimes I'll say something because I think someone's close enough to an understanding that maybe I can trigger it. But I'm never trying to walk somebody the whole way again. Fuck that. No, they're like, did you get saved by Jesus Christ? I go, yes, I did. Because technically that's where my whole beginning of my understanding started, was the story of Jesus. And I went, oh my God, Jesus was just a dude who woke up to his true nature and was trying to tell people about it. And I'm like, damn. That's also the reason why I was like, I'm not even gonna try that walking on water shit. I see what they did to him. I'm not doing none of that. No, you
But
guys.
the one thing that you do need to reframe, because I remember I heard you say this in a video, is you thought that Jesus was egotistical, which I thought too, by the way, at one point, that he had the balls to go to the Jews, right? The Pharisees, the top of the chain there at Rome during that time period, and to be like, y'all don't know my father, and y'all about to learn it from me. I'm the Messiah. I'm the one who's going to show you the way. The way is through me.
Yeah.
The thing is that he had no choice. He knew that he was going to be put to the cross, but the Father did not give him a choice. And that's kind of like what I had to learn when developing Christ consciousness and surrendering to the Father in that regard. Is Christian literally said, I'm not giving you a choice. You're going to do this for me. And if you do it true with absolute love in your heart, he's just like, the impact that your character is going to have is going to be so significant and beautiful, you'll never be able to imagine it. But the problem is that, you know, you think that Jesus was trying to go there on his own account and be like, I'm the savior of the world. It wasn't what he wanted. He really was trying to teach the people at that time that they will go on to do greater things than him if they could just go ahead and have a relationship with the Father within them too. But those evil powers went ahead and they twisted the entire story in the Council of Nicaea. They twisted and took out all sorts of books and made it to where they wrote it in to where they're like, oh yeah, without Jesus you can never be saved, so come to the churches and let us program you.
Yeah.
And you can't even read the Bible. You know, back then the majority of those people were illiterate, and they had to go to church and have it read to them. And then once it was read to them enough times, the only books that they used in the beginning to actually make the lower class people, the peasants, right, actually literate was through the Bible. It was through the Bible. They went ahead and they learned how to read. So that's where all of their cognitive biases of their ego gets completely shaped into believing that, oh, this is the only interpretation it can be. And I have a best friend who's like that, who's a super huge Christian. And it's so ironic because, as you were saying, I look at him all the time. I'm like, I love Jesus. I love him. But I know when we say it,
Yeah.
he says it in a completely different way. He means it completely differently in a way that leads him to being lost. And he sins all of the time. And I totally forgive him for it because at the end of the day, he's only self sabotaging himself through ignorance that he doesn't know. But I try to teach where I can around certain cognitive biases when the moments present themselves. It's like little breadcrumbs that you give them, and you hope they figure it out. They say planting seeds, but you have to water them.
Yeah. I do that with people in my life. I'll throw out just something small. And really what I hope is that their algorithm picks up on it a little bit. You know what I mean? They start seeing it, because you can tell somebody whatever you want, but until it starts popping up on their phone and they're like, the first time they go, I'll listen to it, man. And then it's kind of from there. That's where the seed starts to grow. I do it with, my wife is a nurse, so I throw out like medical stuff all the time. I'm like, that's just a result of, you know, whatever. Like, the body can heal itself. You just have to get the body in alignment. If the body is like a visual representation of the inner emotional state, then that's what needs healed. And until you do that, you're just going to go get medicine shoved down your throat. And I try to push her in that direction, because I'm like, once my fat ass actually, you know, I need God to kick me one good time, and then I start up down my journey, then I think I'm going to reverse things in my life in such a way that some people won't make the cut. And she's going to have to be one of them. So, but I just nudge her. I don't want to go in there like, hey, listen, okay, everything is light. But I still give her a little more than she would probably want. It just doesn't bother her. But to other people in my life, it's like I say this stuff to them, and then I don't hear from them anymore. They're like, he's fucking out of his mind, dude. I had a guy ask me one time for DMT, and I said, listen, man, I can save you the time. I said, I've got the truth for you, but I want you to know, before I even have this conversation with you, dude, you can't unknow what I'm going to tell you. because he's been asking me for that shit for a long time. Feels like he doesn't have anyone in his life who's even in that realm. And it just takes me back to my LSD experience when I was hog-tied by the sheriffs, which I think I left that part out. I was hog-tied in my underwear by 6 sheriffs behind a dumpster at a gas station as I'm eating shit off the ground to make sure I'm still alive. Like, not like food, but like gravel. I'm like licking it like, am I still here? And I thought for sure they were going to shoot me and I was going to go back to the one. That's what I thought was going to happen. Yeah. So I don't want to put him in that place at all.
Well, that's why you should have a trip sitter.
Oh, dude. Yeah, we had no idea what we were doing. There was 3 of us, and the one guy was super. He smoked weed the whole time. He was so paranoid.
Oh no, not one of those.
The conversation started with me telling him, like, dude, time or whatever it was, I got like this whirlpool image in my head. And all I could think is like every moment is a drop. And it's just by the time you even consider being upset about it, it's already gone. It's already gone. And I kept having this spiral in my head and I didn't know what it was. So then that part of the trip, I was just like, I want cigarettes. I'm going to get some. I got to walk. It's probably a half mile to the closest gas station, but on one of the busiest roads in the city. So I'm going to walk. And dude, as I'm walking, the trip sets in really hard. I lose track of time. I remember things that didn't happen. Like the sheriffs didn't show up till we got to the gas station at the end of this road, at actually a major intersection. And I was like, well, the sheriffs was circling me in the parking lot of the bank. And my brother's like, they weren't even there yet. And I'm like, that's literally how I remember it happening. I don't remember a whole bunch. Like I didn't even bring back the memories of everything, or like there was big gaps of time that were just gone. It was so fucking weird, man. So
how did that end though? Like did you have to go to jail for a bit, or did they just restrain you?
They tried to get me for assault on a police officer. I swung on him, but I didn't hit him apparently. But all the other guys were like, yo, dude's tripping, chill out. So he didn't press charges. They took me to the hospital. So they hog-tied me. I remember sliding around on the plastic seat in the back because it was a sheriff's car. And I remember being in the hospital bed and the sheriffs were standing here and my parents were standing here. Because my little brother called my parents and was like, listen, I'm sorry, you got to come down here. They live a half hour away. They drive down there. I'm hog-tied at a gas station in my underwear. My mom's freaking the fuck out. They take me to the hospital. They didn't press any charges. I actually didn't get in trouble. I think at some point they were like, dude, fucking look at that. That's punishment enough. I had to go there, get my stomach pumped, and they put a catheter in. But all I remember is laying in the bed. I remember when they said we're going to pull the catheter out. I remember that part, but just like the pain of it. I don't remember any of the visual. But when I was laying in the bed and the sheriffs were still standing there, I watched the one morph into my brother. Like I watched this guy's face turn as clear as day too, which usually visuals are not that fucking clear. Usually visuals are like overlays and more mental, but this one, he fucking morphed into my little brother who never came in the room, he said. And I woke up in the back of my mom's van on the way to her house in a complete paper outfit, just this blue paper, no underwear, just fuzzy socks, paper pants, paper shirt. And the next day I was so genuinely uncomfortable in my own body that I couldn't sleep. I couldn't get comfortable. Everything hurt. So I actually thought that what I got was the test chemical, because I've heard that there's a test chemical that will give you that, but it hurts the next day. Your body aches real bad. So I think that's what I got. But yeah, luckily I never heard anything from the cops, and I was like, thank God. Yeah. Shit show. My younger brother though scarred for the rest of his life because I was trying to fight people in the parking lot. I was Stone Cold Steve Austin. I was God. He said I fell to my knees and called out for Shenron.
The Dragon Ball.
Yeah, dude. Shenron. This is my darkest hour. It was an experience that I wasn't ready to live again anytime soon. I didn't get back into stuff till mushrooms, and it's a much gentler ride. Even though the 15 grams, you'll face dying almost every time.
Dude, I faced the Grim Reaper on my last shroom trip. I tried everything in my power to make sure that my mushroom trip would go like perfect.
Yeah.
Like I made sure that my girlfriend was like having a really good day, and I told her I was like, "You need to be my trip sitter." And she was like, "All right." And she had already been around me on acid, so she was like, "Are you going to be different on shrooms?" And I'm like, "Shrooms worry me only because I'm like, there's always spirits that try to teach me a really deep, profound lesson. And I was like, I don't want that shit. I'm like, I don't want to learn deep lessons. I'm trying to trip balls and have fun. And I'm just like, so I'm like, make sure that's what we do for the day. I'm like, drive me around, take me to nice parks, whatever. I'm like around nature. And she was like, all right, we'll do that. And then she picked me up after I had eaten the mushrooms, and we got to her house. And I walk into her house, and immediately I can feel the energy is completely off. Like it's really, really bad. And I'm like, oh crap. And I'm around her parents, and her parents couldn't know I was tripping. And so I'm just kind of like sitting there being really quiet. And her parents look really sad, and I can feel their sadness. And then I look over out the corner of my eye, and the Grim Reaper is literally standing there. I'm just looking at the angel of death. And I'm just like, I turn, I look at my girlfriend, I'm just like, I might just be tripping, but I think someone actually is going to die today. And she's like, no, no, no. She's just like, don't say stupid shit like that. I'm just like, no, I'm serious. I'm looking at the angel of death right now, and it's literally telling me to, like, in telepathy, it's here to take someone. And so then I walk into the living room and I see her older dog, and it's laying there. And immediately I'm like, babe, your dog's going to die today. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, who are you to like say that about? This dog was 16 years old. It was an old dog. It lived a good life. But I looked at her. I'm like, I know this is your childhood dog and you love this dog so much. I'm like, today's the day your dog dies. And she's like, I'm going to do everything in my power not to be mad at you because you're on drugs. She's like, but I need you to like leave the room and go somewhere for a bit. So I walked down into her basement where her room was, and she had another dog, a younger dog, and it ran down there and it literally curled up in my arms and started shaking, and I could feel its sadness as if the dog knew that its older friend was going to die, and it was only me and that dog that knew it. And then eventually she came downstairs, was like, all right, let's go to the park. And we went to the park. And as we were walking around at the park, boom, she got the phone call from her mom. And she was just like, the dog just died. And I remember she turned and she looked at me and she was like, holy crap. She's like, you actually really saw the angel of death and it took my dog. And I was like, yeah, this was supposed to be a fun trip. I'm like, I don't think I want to eat mushrooms no more.
Well, I was thinking that the whole beginning of that story, I was thinking like the amount of focus you put on avoiding the bad trip was damn near guaranteed to bring one, it would seem to me.
Yeah.
I worry about that myself too, though, because sometimes you're like, all right, man, listen, I was real good last time. You made me face my own death a few times. Okay, I thought fucking Black Hawk helicopters was going to show up this time. Just YouTube videos would be nice. You know what I mean? Just throw in some colorful like tunnels, and that's what I want to do. And then it'll whip your ass for saying it. Yeah, I get scared of that. If I feel like I need to avoid a bad trip, I usually just avoid the trip altogether because I'm like, no, it's going to get me. I know it's going to. It's like, oh, an opportunity to learn something. Why don't you come here and talk to us for a little bit? And I'm like, nah, I'm good, dude. Maybe next weekend.
Now here's something that's interesting. I learned after that, when I got a closer relationship to the higher self, that when I went ahead and I did, actually I did mushrooms again now that I think about it after this, because my friend had given me a bag of mushrooms and I was like, all right, this will be a good trip because I'll literally just eat the mushrooms and stay in my room and I'll stay away from everyone else, right? So a full isolation trip. And I ate the mushrooms and I'm hanging out with my python. I got a big banana ball python that was chilling around my neck, and I'm just vibing, just having a good ass time. And then I needed to go to the bathroom, and I shared a bathroom with my other roommate in the house. And I walked in there and I felt his energy that was left over. This friend, very unfortunately, he killed himself like a year later.
Yeah.
His energy was so, so, so like tormented. And I remember I went into that bathroom and I felt his tormented energy, and the walls started turning this like dark puke vomit green, and the smell, I'll never forget the smell. It smelled like rotten flesh in this bathroom, and it was a clean bathroom,
Yeah.
but it was the energy field that I had stepped into. And as I was smelling the rotten flesh, I fell to my knees. I was like, Christian, can you please fix this? And then just boom, all of it went right back to being a beautiful trip. And I was just like, wait a minute, can I actually call on you every time like that to fix things? And Christian was like, yes, yes, I'm your higher spirit, your higher power. If you call in my name, I will go ahead and I'll pull you out of whatever you put yourself into. And throughout life, I travel a lot. So I've gone to a lot of different hotels. And my one friend was always trying to save money. So he would book like these really sketchy ones, and it's one of those things where you kind of feel like you've reached a certain level where you no longer need the psychedelics because you feel like you're kind of tripping, as you said, without it. And I was in one of those rooms, and one night I woke up and there was this dark entity that was just standing over my bed. And it just felt like it wanted to hurt me. And I literally called out to Christian, was just like, can you get rid of this? And then boom, the energy just completely shifted and it was gone. And I was just like, wow. I'm like, those basically those movies where when they're doing an exorcism and all they're really doing is calling on God in that moment. I'm like, that's where they say it solves the issue. I'm just like, in real life, it has done that just for me
Yeah.
the same way. But that one trip in particular, when I went back into my room, thank God I didn't shoot my friend that day because he came into the house screaming and losing his mind. It was over a Tinder match.
Mm.
A girl rejected him and he wasn't able to go on a date that night. And so he started freaking the fuck out and his energy flowed up into my room. It started freaking me the fuck out, and then he wanted to play a prank on me where he wanted to go up to the door and bang on it really hard and be like, "Yo, Matt, open the door. I got a surprise for you." I'm in peak trip, dude. Peak trip. I reach over and fucking grab my 9 millimeter and I point it at the door, and literally a voice of reason comes into my head and says, "Put the gun down, Matt. Put the gun down.
Yeah.
It's not worth it." And I was just like, oh, okay. I put the gun down. I open the door. He's just got tater tots in his hand. And he's just like, "You want one?" And I'm like, "Bro, I literally thought about shooting you." Like, you scared the shit out of me.
The day that I had that trip where I was hogtied and everything, I had bought my first Smith and Wesson 9 millimeter that day, and the guy that I was going to trip with was a big gun guy, so I was going to bring it with me, and I didn't. I forgot it on the counter when I left the house. I thought about going back and getting it and everything. Thankfully, I didn't, because apparently I was finger gunning myself because I was like, when I leave here, I go back to being God. So I was like, "See you, man. I love you. Bye." You know. So had I had that at all, it would have probably turned out that way. So I'm very grateful for that, and I see those things as moments of like intervention from God. And people who don't believe in God at this point to me are fascinating, because what it tells me is you've never looked into it, you've never even tried. Because like my secretary, who is a Christian through and through, this lady is very well versed on all of that. But like we'll have with my company, we'll have money issues, and there'll be something come up, and it seems like there's no fucking way to fix this. So I just tell her I'm excited to see how it's handled, and she's like, "Well, but you're the one handling it." And I go, "No, God's got me here." And I literally just forget that it even is a problem. I just go, "Okay, well, that problem's been solved. Now what?" And it always gets solved. This happened just the other day. It's like the last 3 weeks, we've hit a place where it's like, we don't have payroll because we've got money out with other people. What are we going to do? And then someone will pay early. One time, we did a job in fucking February for like $4,000, and they were like, "Hey, we didn't pay you. Here's $4,000." The day it needed to be paid, out of seemingly nowhere. And if you're open to the idea of God, and you're like, because at what point do you look at the world and go, man, I'm kind of fucked. If the people running it actually have all the power, I'm fucked already. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to take a leap of faith here and just go, you know what? If there's a God, God's got me on this one, and I, and it'll happen as long as you truly submit and just let go. And I think that's beautiful, because the church never pitches you like, we'll show you proof of God. They're like, look at this book, give me $20. You know what I mean? It's like, to think that any Christian pastors of any kind are truly awake to the truth. If they are, then they're kind of dirtbags.
Yeah, they're a hypocrite because you're supposed to literally help them find the kingdom within them and then let them go, let them be free. And that's the whole entire thing. I will go to my grandfather's church because he's one of those people who started going right when he started feeling like he was very close to death.
Yeah.
And it was one of those like bargaining chips with God, is what he was like trying to go about it. And I would just sit next to him in church and tell him, I'm like, I already have a direct communication to God. I just want to let you know that in death, I'm like, there is no hell. I'm like, you are loved unconditionally so. And I'm like, and you have played your part. I'm just like, unconsciously, but you still played your part. And I'm just like, and you don't need to be here. You know, they're passing around the bowl. All of those people that I was around, it really did kind of feel fake to a certain degree. And it really blew my mind when they were having a barbecue afterwards, and I'm sitting there, and this one lady starts to open up to me because she's just like, you have a presence too, where she's just like, I just feel like I could talk to you about stuff. And I was just like, what's on your mind? And she was like, no one really wants to talk to me, or they get awkward about the fact that my husband just passed away a month ago. And I was just like, all right, tell me, like, what's going on? And then she, like, she was in true pain, like, really, really going deep through it. And here she is at God's house, right? Around all these people that are supposed to be God's people. And she wasn't feeling healed and she wasn't feeling heard. And so I sat there and I listened to her and just gave her my undivided attention. And then I finally went ahead and I told her, I was just like, I know that God has your husband, because I can't tell her obviously that your husband is a part of God. So I have to like tell her that I'm just like, he is in heaven. I'm like, heaven's not exactly what you think it is, because God is so much more than one can imagine, which she agreed with me on that. And I was just like, but just know that you will be reunited, and that this life is eternal. You are an eternal soul that is blessed by God. It is up to you though to view life as a blessing or a curse, and I promise you it's such a better life when you see it as a blessing. And in that moment, her whole heart energy opened up. I could feel it right then and there. Her energy was very contracted and it all just expanded in a moment. And she just smiled and she was just like, I think I just found my inner peace. And I was just like, it can be that easy if you just are around the right energy.
I think a big problem with Christians is people who truly question it but still stick to the narrative of the Bible at some point have to make peace with 4 billion Muslims going to hell because of a book.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's half the earth, homeboy. That's a whole bunch of motherfuckers. So if God loves all his children, he only gave a little sliver of y'all the right book. Everybody else got the wrong book, and fuck all them people. Like, so I feel like there's this selfishness within, and there's this real huge lack of emotional intelligence built into like a certain percentage of people who buy into anything so literal. I think other countries probably have I would say, I don't want to say a different excuse, and I don't know enough about all these other religions, but they have so many spiritual practices built into the way that they live their life. It's a completely different community. America is like stab everybody and climb over their body. And it's so ugly, and Christianity has become that. Now, fuck that. What about your salvation? You know, the idea that there's going to be a rapture and then half the people here are just going to get shit on by God, and these other people get to go to a nice little clubhouse and watch. That's crazy. As soon as I heard anything about that, I was like, I guess I'll stay here and fight. I mean, fuck, you guys are going to jump, you know, everybody? That's not nice. You guys got God. I guess I'm going to have to help, because what did the people who just don't know of God do to get shit on by God? And if that is your God, what a terrible fucking thing. Like, that's an awful thing. Now I understand balance a lot more. So I don't see the bad as bad. I see the bad as just, it's something that happens in the system. Like, a beautiful tree will die and rot. It just is what it is. Without one tree dying and rotting, there will be no fertilizer for the next tree to grow. It's literally, consciousness is like, in human form, it would be like God is it has an interest in its own existence through us. So that's why sex feels so good. He built that in. He was like, you guys got to keep having babies so I can keep inhabiting you to further creation through imagination. And that always brings me back to this idea of like reincarnation, and what are the odds that you are reborn as someone within your own bloodline, like through DNA. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of, that still implies the idea of self, and I don't know how much I buy into that.
Yeah, no,
What do I do? Mental myself to
that's what this tattoo represents, is reincarnation. The heart bleeding in the hourglass. The hourglass is the infinity symbol and also time symbol. So time is infinite. And essentially your heart, which is the ego, the self here, is bleeding, and its time. The body will run out. It will inevitably die, but the essence is never lost. And it eventually coagulates and just gets flipped over again into a new heart. What I've come to kind of realize is it's the soul's essence is playing many different characters, and it can go back when it dies and do a life review. And they literally say this: your whole life will flash before your eyes when you die. And so in some ways you could take that as an infinite loop. And some people do, and there's truth to that, because truth be told, your life is already happened and it's just unfolding. So your life is a movie that can be rewatched over and over and over and over again. But at the same time, that soul is a part of the one creator that is infinitely changing and expanding and creating other versions of itself. And so what teachers like Dolores Cannon have said is that essentially, once you get your life review, you can either relive the same life again and do it again, or you could pick a whole nother timeline, a whole nother storyline, and just get lost in that one next. And that's that kind of universal understanding of the Rick and Morty type understanding, where there's so many different multiverses all happening at once, and you're just playing all of those different versions of yourself doing many different things, looking completely slightly different in certain ways.
Yeah. If you take away just the idea of self, or recognize that self is compounding of experience into a false belief of self, then it's kind of the egg theory. Maybe not with the ending of becoming God at the end, but yeah, you live this.
The egg theory is the Truman Show type theory, though. That's literally saying that everyone is you, and they're all playing a part that was completely constructed only for just you.
Right. I kind of see that. I kind of see it through that lens a little bit. More because the idea of you, the ego has to construct the sense of identity, which is the separation from God. You can't be God, but you can be the ego, which is a part of God, because nothing in God is anything but God, meaning that the thing that's truly in the very background of what you are, your essence, is God, and so is everyone else. So the idea that you're a thing separate from God is what allows the illusion of life. But the truth be told, you're a character God is playing, and everyone's a character God is playing. So on that level, we're all the same thing, not the same one, because there is no two people that are alike, because it's forged through experience that we find our self identity. But our true self, the who am I am, that's God. God is the system that we inhabit. So we perceive that, oh, you or me and you are the same person. No, we're the same thing, which kind of sounds like the same person. But I
Yeah,
also
it's
see it
close
as,
but different.
yeah, I see it as like my reality is mine and you're in it, but as a creation of my consciousness, and I'm in yours as a creation of yours. But we don't actually inhabit the same reality. We inhabit the same reality in the sense of, I think of the Mandela effect a lot, where people remember the past different. Well, what if they were just in a timeline where there's like, in Rick and Morty, oh, they say Parmesan weird here, they call it Parmesan, right? So like little things being off might tip you to the idea that you're never really in one reality shared with everybody. You're in a reality shared with people that are in the same mindset as you. So I think some people see that as we're all on the same earth and we just so happen to find each other, and I believe that as well. But I almost see like we truly exist. If we are truly God on a level that we can't claim as our own, like we're of God, not God is of us, then that's infinite. So there is no shared experience in the way people perceive it, which I think is a release, because that means that other people can't force awful shit into your life. They have no authority over your life, only what you allow. Only
See,
what you give
what I
them.
believe is there is shared, but only part time. As in, when we are together, we're here. But however, the choices that you make that lead to causes and effects will shift you into a new Earth because there's infinite Earths that exist. And it will lead you into another timeline that has that Mandela effect that you're saying, where it will match your vibrational resonancy
Right.
of that is where you're going. And that is what the number one story that is told through astrology about the age of Aquarius is, and the book of Revelations is that the metaphysical understanding of the book of Revelations is, yeah, half of the world is actually going to suffer in this timeline terribly, but it's going to be by their own consciousness. It's going to be done by the fact that they don't believe they're worthy of being saved. And so, therefore, be careful what you say, because that becomes your reality. So, what you say is right. You should have been more wiser to,
Right.
choose what you were thinking,
Be
but
careful what you wish for.
they can't, they're ignorant, they don't know any better, and as we said, we can't teach them any differently. So this was still a part of God's plan, which earth we shift into.
Yeah.
He made infinite versions, and he said y'all are going to go over here and they're going to stay over there, and that's how it's going to be. But the weird thing is this, is that in a way we're still on the same planet with them, just in a different frequency. You can imagine there's so many people right now, the suicide rates are probably the highest they've ever been, like
I can't imagine.
statistically. And it's like, at a time like this, I'm probably at the lowest I've probably ever been in my life when I think about circumstances externally, and yet I'm blessed internally to the point that it's like my energy doesn't waver regardless of how bad everything will get around me. I just will stay completely still in my faith and just be loving for no other reason than to be loving, to be happy for no other reason than to be happy. And therefore that energy will attract other high vibrational souls to be like, that's where it's at.
Yeah.
We need to be around each other, not those other people that are just being assholes because they're just ignorant assholes.
People have the idea that like everyone could wake up, and I wonder, like, there has to be balance, right? So as people are waking up, I explained it like this: the closer you walk to the light, the larger the shadow will be that you cast. So the closer you get to this love, the more obvious all the bad will become. So it almost seems like both are ramping up. Like I don't try to look over at the bad very often, but when I do, it seems like it's moving. And same thing here. It seems like the divide is growing, which in a world of polarity would have to exist. You'd never have all the bad people go away. This fantasy of like there can be none of that. It's like with money. I explain it with money a lot. Some money's good. A lot of money's great. All the money's as much as none of the money.
More money, more problems.
Yeah, and
The more you have, the more you have to lose.
well, once you have all of it, it's worthless now. What are you going to do with it? You have all of it. It means nothing now. So, like, if you have all light, what the fuck is that? That's no good. It's like having all the money. You need the contrast. You have to have it. So I think every timeline has to have some degree of that built in. Maybe something that's beyond our comprehension, something that we can't quite place our finger on and say, well, here they suffer like this, but there they'll suffer. Like if everyone tomorrow got universal high income, people would still suffer. Some people would see it as the greatest blessing ever. Some people would literally be like, well, am I going to not just go to work now? Which is crazy to me. I can't even wrap my fucking mind around that.
The AI just replaces everyone with robots.
Yeah, well, the people who would be upset
It'll
about
work
this, what
now.
gets me, the people who are like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to find purpose? Like, dog, the fact that you found it in your job makes me feel bad for you. Now, there's some people who do what they love, but you could do that as a hobby. Which I like, Elon Musk said that. He was like, people just do what they do as a hobby. Accounting will become a hobby. You know what I mean? Like, that's where it'll evolve to. But there are some people who would lose every desire to live if it wasn't for the schedule they were given, because they've never actually been hurt bad enough to turn around and look behind them and see, oh, there's a person back here. They've become whatever they were told to become. It's the good boy syndrome.
It's the attachment of self-identity to it as well, because if that identity, like I said, is threatened, it literally feels like they're dying inside, because in a way they are. The vision that they once had of themselves has to die if they're no longer able to do what they once did. And people are scared of the unknown. But one of the spirit guides I remember, I don't know if you ever seen videos of Bashar. Bashar once went ahead and said, he was just like, why are you afraid of the unknown? He's like, if you go into the unknown, the only thing that will happen is you will know more. It's like you'll only find more of yourself.
That guy dropped some real heat. I started doing Bashar video, like spoof videos. I only ended up doing one. It's pinned at the top of my TikTok, where it was like, this lady was like, I want a bunch of money, and he was like, oh, see, that's the problem. You want money. You can't have money and want money at the same time. Like, people trying to manifest stuff is fascinating to me, because it's in true American form, we want the fucking shortcut. That's what we want. Like, spirituality hit America, and people was like, how do I make it happen now? Like, there's some violets out here from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. They want it right now, and it's not going to go well. It seems like there's a lot of that in the TikTok thing, and I know that I was there, and I know that sometimes maybe I still go there, but I'm more fascinated with learning the way it's supposed to work in the loving, caring way, because helping other people, service to others. The last time I tripped real hard, I came to the understanding that service to others is the key. And I think of it like this: if you pay a room full of people to protect you, as soon as their life is threatened, money isn't it no more. But if you surround yourself with people who love you, they'll die with you. So, like, love is the actual currency of reality. And they were like, no, money's so people are so focused on that. But if you just do service to others, like if you live so I live in a pretty small city. I don't even think we call it a city, I think we call it a town. And then
What state?
In Ohio.
All right.
Fields everywhere. So this whole idea of, like, in rap, people talk about I run my city, or this is my city, or whatever. That came to mind, and I was like, if you want to know who owns the city, you can go find paper. Look at the paperwork, you can see who owns the city. But if you drive around your city for 2 hours every single night, asking everyone you see if they're okay, if there's any way you could help, if you do that for a year, you fucking own that city. Because you've spread love to so many people that those people will not allow you to fail. Like, they can't, because love is the currency. So I'm like, you've got the devil on one shoulder who's like, dude, money, that'll get you your freedom, this, that, and the other. And then on the other shoulder, it's like, dude, just love everybody and just fucking trust that it's going to be okay, and it's going to be better than that money ever thought about being. That's where I'm at now, is like, I want to walk this direction. Not that money was ever like anything selfish, because I got some money I don't know, years ago, and I bought a bunch of bullshit jewelry. I ended up selling it recently, right before gold went way the fuck up too. I was sick to my stomach about it, but I thought money was going to do something, and then once I realized like money is just so pointless. I mean, it's going to help you be more comfortable naturally in this system, but outside of that, it's worthless entirely.
I have absolute love for money because I look at it just as the trade of currency.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is, God's way of saying, this is where I'm giving you this power to create value.
Yeah.
You could be greedy, you could hoard it and not give it back, and therefore you'll cause the suffering of many. But, it's like I was during Christmas time watching The Christmas Carol with Scrooge. And it's like those spirits that, went to him and showed him, like, Tiny Tim will die if you don't do something about this. Like, you had the opportunity to pay your employers better and to give back. And in giving back, you'll see the whole world will come together and love you so much more that you'll even become more profitable.
Yeah.
And that is the key of the frequency of love of attraction but you have to do it without the ego. That's the hardest part. You have to do service to self for no other reason than it's service to self, and you have to let it go on what the outcome is. You can't feel entitled to being like, oh, my karma now should be this. It's like, no, give it time for that inertia to come all the way back around. And no matter how long it takes, as long as you keep yourself with the two best virtues, I would say, is patience and humility. As long as you have patience and humility, there's nothing that you can't struggle through and overcome. That God will eventually bless you. But it's the moment that you get prideful and you start to say, I really think things should be exactly the way that I think it should be. And if I had the power to take control of the matrix and rewrite things, then I would do so. It's like the greatest insult to God. And all I've ever done when that moment has happened to me is get punished for it. It's like I get put in a world of hurt that's not more than what I can't handle, but it's like I got literally put in timeout because when I had my spiritual channel deleted from me at like 55,000 followers, God was like, I can't have you going around and spreading like this law of attraction bullshit of you really stating like making other people want to believe that you can bend things to your will with just your mind alone of just sitting there and being like, I think it, I think it, I think it, therefore it will come. God's like, there are works and you will reap what you sow. So I'm a first judge your heart of where this intention's coming from, and then I'm gonna judge your works on how that you're doing it. And so that's the whole thing about, like, for instance, people hate right now Mr. Beast because they're starting to catch on that they're like, wait a minute, this guy really isn't a good guy. He's on purposely doing all of these good things to get the most amount of views and be the biggest creator there is to get all of this, funnels of brand deals and more money. And he says he gives it all back. But it's like you don't really see that in his character. And it was literally told in the Bible. It was like, do things in secret, do it in silence. If you really mean it, you're going to only do it and know that that person appreciates and loves you for doing it for them and that God saw it. And that God will then surprise you with something that's amazing. But the problem is the ego don't like surprises, right? Again, it's that unknowingness that makes you want to be like, oh, I need to do more research. I need to do more digging. I need to try to get my energy as stimulated as possible. And that's what overworks the body and causes illness mentally and physically.
Yeah.
So you
Reminds me of-
can't do it.
I heard there's a passage in the Bible, basically to paraphrase it, it's some people will do works in my name, but I do not know them. So it's like you're doing it to achieve what you think the result will be. You think, oh, if I do work for others, then I'll achieve this from God. And it's like you didn't even do it for the right reasons. You didn't do it for me. I think of that stuff a lot because I see those channels where they're like, hey man, I raised a bunch of money for you, and it's like, why are you recording it though? I mean, I get it. It's nice to see those videos, but like the other day I was driving down the road and I was like, I'm gonna pick up this guy walking. I'm gonna give him a ride wherever he's going, and I never thought like I'm going to record it and show the world, because there's
Yes.
something weird about that for me. I'm like, some things are okay, some things are kind of cool, but at some level, if you're only doing things for other people for your own benefit, you're never doing anything for anybody else actually at all. You're always doing it for yourself. You're always feeding your ego. You're always going to be looking for the comeback. Man, I'll do all this good shit. I say that all the time. I don't genuinely mean it. A lot of times I say things just to hear how fucking stupid they sound. I'll be like, well, it's fucking stupid, man. I do nothing but good for people, and then this happens. And then, of course, I have to sit down with myself and go, all right, so you fucking were expecting something, and it didn't happen. That's a good lesson. Quit doing that. Like, just
Yeah.
do shit. And it feels better to do stuff for no reason than it does to do it for a reason. Because in the back of your mind, the whole time, you're like, you selfishly think you're going to gain from it, but then you feel kind of like a fraud. And I battled with that with the TikTok account. Was like, I would say these things, and for a long time I thought like, well, man, I'll fucking go viral, and then I'll get money, and I get to go do all this stuff, and there wasn't enough focus on genuinely helping other people. And then I got scared, and I wanted to delete the whole page. I'm always going to delete it, dude. I'm kind of fucking scared of this thing. And then I was like, well, then leave it up. You know what I mean? You don't have to post anything, but if it helps people, because I've had people message me like, man, you saved my life. Like, I needed someone to dumb it down to the level you did so I could understand it, and you did. So I leave it up. That part feels good. But I've got to the point now where doing things for any reason other than just doing them feels so fake and manufactured. I tell my brother it's artificial sentiment, and I fucking hate it. It's like someone who plans out your birthday, and when it doesn't go right, they get pissed off when you're fine. It's because they built this idea in their head and it didn't happen that way. Even though it shouldn't mean that much to them, it's this artificial sentiment. Like families gathering every year when they hate each other. That's weird too. You should try to heal
Yeah.
your wounds. You should try to get past that. But to like, oh, but we're family. But like, some people just, it's just a word. So it's more uncomfortable to sit with that artificial sentiment than it is anything else for me. I wish everybody could learn what that feeling is so they'd quit doing that shit. I'm gonna help this person, then record it, put it on the internet, then I can Mr. Beast. It's the same. It's exactly the same playbook. Some people do it for good, though. I think you can see that in their videos. So some of those are pretty nice to run across. But
Yeah, there are some that are actually genuine, and it's like, all right, that is pretty solid, and so you can imagine that probably their karma is pretty good.
yeah,
But it's one of those things where, yeah, if you let the ego take over, or the super ego, where you have your third eye open and you're really trying to plot it like Lucifer to get it all the way, you only have hell to pay with those good
yeah,
intentions. It gets messy, and you get put in timeout. And I did for 2 years. And ironically, it was when I started seeing your videos popping up frequently, because I don't do spiritual content anymore because God told me not to.
yeah,
Literally told me, it was like, all right, you still do your modeling stuff and your thirst trapping and that kind of fun stuff that you enjoy doing. But it was like, until I gotten you to the point that I know your super ego is literally like, basically God said, I will break you to the point that you will see me in all things, and I control all opportunities and timing. And if there's any moment where you try to force something to happen, I will immediately push back on you and make you feel that. And so it was like, through 2 full years of my life, I kind of spent just like meditating in the parks alone. A lot of my friends were stripped away from me. I found out, actually, because God pointed it out to me, that a bunch of them were literally like talking a bunch of bad shit about me behind my back and plotting on me, because they had seen that I might have gotten a lump sum of money, and they were actually plotting to blackmail me and like do a whole bunch of really effed up shit, to where God was like, I need you to learn to shut up. He was like, you share. You're good at storytelling, and therefore now you've taken a gift and you've weaponized it against yourself. He's like, if you can just hold a lot of certain information that's meant to be private for you within and leave out certain details, he's just like, you'll stop doing things from a place of pride, of being like, oh, who's me? Look at me showboating. I'm enlightened. I'm the one who has the answers. And it's like, no, the only time I want you to ever come to someone like that is when I tell you, and you'll even see it within them that they're kind of like they're looking for it. If they start to ask, then tell. But if they didn't ask, you're not going to just start dumping it on them to make yourself look glorious. And so, yeah, yeah, I had to learn. I learned the hard way.
Dude, that's the only way I do learn. I think it has to be the hard way, or I'm like, maybe there's more here. I think that's beautiful, man. I appreciate you telling that. I think we're gonna wrap up. I just got, what time is it? 11 o'clock. I think 11:30.
Yeah, we've been cooking.
We've been going for a while, man. I hope to do it again, brother. It was fucking awesome meeting you. You said a lot of things that resonated with me. You've actually said some things that were so on par in the details to my personal life that it's not surprising, actually, because this is how things happen. Someone comes along that you resonate with, and then they say a story that's so identical down to details that almost don't matter to the story, and it tells you something that you needed to hear. And I know we hear that a lot, but it's once you elevate to a certain level of knowing, it's like the lower stuff that people are like super excited about just doesn't do it for you anymore. It's like, I already know that, man. You're looking for this clarity, and I think that's the problem, is you're looking. Follow your heart, follow what's resonating with you, and then bang, there's an answer that you were like, I've been looking for that, man. And as soon as I quit looking and I'm just here to listen, it pops up. So I'm sure that that's happened for other people from this conversation. I hope we can do it again.
Yeah, I mean, a month ago, we would have never knew that we were going to be on a freaking, FaceTime call like this, going for hours, doing this. But
I do it with a fair number of people too. It's always super nerve wracking, because every now and then you get somebody in there that's like, all right, dude, I'm Jesus, and you're like, fuck, here we go. Fuck, dude, I'm past this part. I know that there are steps because they look so similar and familiar to you. You're like, okay, that's not exactly how I went about it, but I understand the underlying thing. I've already been through that. And if you try to help, like in that live the other day was a really good example. You try to give some help and it's like, nope, just no. That's hard to deal with. So it's so refreshing to come across people that are further along the path than you, because in your journey you will feel, I'm reminded of a story of a guy who walks out of hell with his girlfriend. I'm just going to paraphrase because I have no idea the true names or anything. And it was Hades. So whoever this person would have been, he said, if you turn around and you look, like she's going to stay here with me forever. You can walk out of here with her, but she'll walk behind you. And if you turn around and look, she'll stay here forever. And he heard all these horrible noises. And eventually he just couldn't help it. He turned around and looked, and she was fine. And then poof, she disappeared. It feels like that when you're trying to get past something that had you hung up, like the idea that you're God, that ego. And you can get to a place where that ego is quiet, but then someone behind you is yelling at your ego, and you have to participate in some form of a conversation with them. And your ego's like, bro, just tell him to shut the fuck up. And you're like, I can't do that, dude. I'm past that point. I can't tell him to shut the fuck up. I gotta be here, and I've got to put in the work with this person, whatever that means. So when you get a relief from that, it's really fucking nice, and it gives you. I think we all need that. Everyone's looking for their guru. We're all being gurus to each other simply by existing and being open about our experience and not trying to preach at people. So when you run across those people, it's fucking dope, and that's what this has been, and I appreciate it a lot, man.
Of course, same here, dude. I hope you get a good night's rest. Yeah, I'll catch you later.
All right, brother. Thanks, man.
All right, bye.
Bye. All right. Cut. Welcome to Getting Wrecked with your boy, Wreck-It Ralph. Well, we're going to get absolutely smoked and talk about some old wrecked ass shit. Like Felix's bomb. That bitch is wrecked.